Hello and welcome to AI Collectibles. How's it going, guys? Happy holidays. This is my end of the year stream, so I'm gonna go through kind of my top figures of the year, ones that really impressed me right out the box, and ones that I were consistently playing with or messing around with during streams or just when I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, posing up and stuff. So, yeah, I got my festive hat on. I picked it up yesterday. So, Dez, what's up, buddy? Welcome. Thanks for joining. Uh, you're always here. I might have a special guest. He seems to be having technical issues, so hopefully we can get him in here. Um, yeah, it's if he pops in, he pops in. So yeah, I got a few new pickups this week. I posted. Got some of those new GI Joe classifieds. So opened up Recondo today. He's pretty sweet. He's got a new gun. It's a nice looking figure overall. They use like a softer plastic on the weapon, so it's kind of bent. I'm gonna have to heat it up, which is kind of annoying. But still, yeah, he's a fantastic looking figure, man. Also got the bazooka, so he looks really sweet. I also just posted my review of this guy, so not a contender for figure of the year, but still really nice. I kept a lot of classified. I don't think I have a single classified in my top 10, or even my top 5. I think in my top 10, but not in my top 5, which is, as much as I post and shoot reviews and as many as I have, I like them, but, once you get them, other than paint and, some mold changes and head sculpts, the articulation and everything's pretty much the same. So, but yeah, great looking figures. I also got the nope, and bazooka fell over on somebody. I also got this sweet Daredevil. I got the 3-pack, so he's a really nice looking figure as well. Pretty impressed with him. Yeah, nice. And you know what? I don't have Bullseye. Didn't have Bullseye because I just like recently, during COVID and stuff, started getting back into like 6-inch scale figures. So yeah, so I didn't have the original Bullseye or the Electra, and the Electra is really nice. I like her. I like the extra head sculpts that she comes with. She's really good. I think my most disappointing figure this year. Yeah, man, I get it. Still a great figure though, bro. Here, I'm gonna add the chat overlay here, so comments will show up on the screen. um, but yeah, like I said, I think my most disappointing figure this year, because I think we have like 5 or 6 fucking repaints of it, is the newest 2-pack Snake Eyes. I do like the Timber. I like the white version of Timber better than the first one. And you can have them together. They're like separate wolves now, so that I'm okay with. But man, the only thing different about this guy is I think he has different legs, but the upper torso, a lot of the accessories, everything's the fucking same except they threw in a fucking scarf. Like even his bandolier with his grenades, everything. It's just a different paint scheme. We've got this figure 5 fucking times right now, man. We've had 2 repaints of the original version. Well, we have 1 repaint of the original version. We have the first one that was ever released. We have what's the other one? Oh, the Fortnite one, which came with the throwing star, which they did add with this one, which is kind of nice. But the Fortnite one has silver paint on it, where this is just black. Most of the guns that this guy comes with are trash, man. Like, I have a freaking bin full of Alley Viper weapons, and 3 of the guns this guy comes with are the fucking Alley Viper weapons. Just pretty disappointing. So, anyways, enough of me bitching. Yeah, so welcome, guys. Yeah, I do have a list of figures that I am gonna go over. Um, okay, let me see. Where did I put my list now? Just give me a sec here, guys. I'll keep talking. But yeah, I had some other stuff come in this week. I posted it on Lost Cause Discord. But yeah, I got the Joes. I got the Daredevil 3 pack. I ended up getting that Spider Man 5 pack because it was 40% off on Amazon. So I paid like $113, which is better than $200. Fuck that shit. Ain't worth $200. Oh, I absolutely agree, Omar. Classified's killing it, man. And it's the end of the year, dude, and they're just throwing them like fucking mad. They're coming out hot, man. Like, I wasn't expecting to walk in the True and pick these three up. And that was the best story ever, man. So I go in yesterday morning. I took my kid to go do some Christmas shopping, and she asked me to take her. So we went to the mall, hung out there for like 3, 4 hours. And if you know me, I'm an introvert. I hate the fucking mall. I hate being there. I hate shopping. I'm like, go in, grab what I want, get the fuck out. But my kid, and I guess I hate to generalize it, but women like to shop. So she's out. She's got to go through every store, look at every piece of fucking clothing. And I'm like, I'm just gonna sit out here. And she's like, no. She's like, Papa, come in with me. I want you to help me. I'm like, oh, fuck's sakes. I just stood there. I wasn't a whole lot of help. I got this fucking hat. That was about it. um, so, anyways, I take her shopping. We go to the mall. So, before I went to go pick her up, I stopped at my West End True. I saw they had a truck. So, I walked in. They were unloading stuff. This was like 11 o'clock. So I'm like, all right, Joes aren't out yet. I know they're hitting because they were hitting in Ontario. They've showed up in Quebec and they've showed up in BC. Then they're like everywhere, but they haven't shown up in Alberta yet. So I figured with the truck, with them showing up everywhere, I figured I'd take a shot. Nothing. So I go out, spend a few hours with my kids shopping. So afterwards, I'm like, all right, well, fuck, I'm tired. I really don't want to go into a store full of fucking kids and grown ups shopping for Christmas because I hate that shit. So I walk into True, and my favorite girl is working. She's the best. Like, she always helps me out. She gives me SKUs. She lets me know when trucks are coming in. I'm not a scalper. I just go in and buy what I want and walk out. I don't buy multiples. I don't clear shit out. I just go for stuff for my collection. And we chat and stuff. She's really friendly. So she was there, and she's been off for a while, so I haven't seen her. And I saw that Bazooka was on the shelf. So make her stand around in True, right, man? I hate that shit, dude. Oh shit. Adam, I'm gonna bring you in a second. I'm just gonna finish my story. So I walk into True. I talk to her for a bit. I find that Bazooka's on the shelf. So I go over, ask her if she could look up the other two, right? Recondo and the officer. So she goes and looks, and she's like, well, it shows they're in transit, but if that's here, they might be on the truck. So she goes in the truck. She's in there for like 10, 15 minutes. She comes walking out of the back store holding the two boxes over her head. She's like, I found them. I'm like, oh my God, you are the best person in the world. Thank you so much. So she opens up the cases. I pick one of each. I get my Bazooka. She's like, thanks. I was like, yeah, I'll come in, stop in again and say hey before the holidays. But yeah, I got my figures, went up, checked out, and on the way home, and whew, I was glad to be home after 4 hours of shopping, and yeah, just I was done. But it wasn't a loss because I felt like I got something, and I was pretty excited about that. So, anyways, I do have a guest. I'm waiting for him to sit down. I'm excited to have him on the channel. I've been on a stream with him once or twice. I'm going to be streaming with him again on Sunday. So I'm going to bring him into the chat now. Adam, what's up?
Can you hear me, first of all?
Oh, yeah. I can hear you loud and clear, man.
Okay, good.
Here, we'll put you on even ground with me. So, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. I just got home from work, got settled in, got my bourbon and eggnog, uh,
Right on.
as it is the festive season, of course. Um,
Tis the season.
but I couldn't, for whatever reason, it was telling me my browser was outdated and I couldn't jump on. And I'm thinking, an iPhone 13 has an outdated browser? This doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm here now.
um,
Let's chat some figures.
Welcome, man. So, we've chatted before. This is the first time I've had you on stream. So, if there's anybody new in the chat, maybe tell them a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do. Yeah.
You want people in the chat to tell them to tell me about
No,
them?
you. I want you to tell them. Because man, I thought you like GI Joe Classifieds. I know you're. I'm pretty like. Did you start the Northern Outpost, or are you just an admin?
No, that's a common misconception. So the Northern Outpost is our GI Joe classified Canadian Facebook group.
Yeah,
I didn't start it. I jumped in pretty early on. Chad Mason, who lives in Victoria, actually started it. And when I jumped in, there was like 50 people, and um, and I jumped in just because I was into the line, and there's a lot of Canadian GI Joe collectors groups on Facebook, but there wasn't any that was geared towards classified, and classified was sort of what I was into. I was collecting vintage stuff, so I'm still in those groups. They're great groups. There's a whole bunch of great GI Joe collectors groups in Canada, like I said, but as far as the classified stuff, I just didn't think that um, there wasn't as many people sort of specifically excited about that. So I got into this group, and I was like, okay, let's do this. I want to do this. I want to see more of this. So I just started like posting things, and I just started interacting, and I started I think really early on, like just probably come off as like just so precocious, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna do a poll, and I'm gonna do a live video, and I'm gonna do all this stuff. I would reach out to Chad, and I'd be like, hey Chad, is it cool if I try this? Like, are you opposed to this? And Chad's the best because Chad just started the group and has like sat back ever since. He doesn't want to be involved at all. He's like, yeah, man, whatever you want to do is cool. Um, and it's funny because I still will message him when I have an idea of sort of, oh, I want to change this or whatever. And he's like, you don't have to ask me. And I'm like, yeah, but it's your group. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it was him that started it. So I will always defer to him. It will always be his group. Despite that, I don't know that he ever gets messages from anybody as far as, like people reaching out to an admin. It always seems to be me, but that's fine. It is what it is. So that's where I sort of started doing videos. And then I sort of got chatting with Mike from ecollectibles.ca. If you're not aware of them, go check them out. Lots of great stuff in their online store. But I started talking to Mike. We started talking because he was in Northern Outpost,
yeah.
and he actually got mad at me for something that I did because he thought that I was playing favorites. And a friendship sort of blossomed out of that, first interaction, and we've been friends for a while now. And he and a bunch of other people bullied me into getting into like some other lines like Mythic Legions, and then I started doing
Mythic
Mythic
Legion.
Legions ones, and I did the same thing in that group. There's a Canadian Mythic Legions group that I just bullied my way into, and do live videos in that, and do polls in that. Like basically, I just do the exact same things in that group as I do in the Northern Outpost.
Fair enough.
But it's fun, man. It's lots of fun, and the other line. So GI Joe Classified is probably the line that I'm sort of most passionate about. But like a lot of other people, like Ninja Turtles, Dragon Ball Z, Lego, Mythic Legions. Really, really excited for the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom line that is coming out very, very soon. I'm
Yeah, it
probably
was,
forgetting a couple lines. Wow, Marvel Legends. There's tons of those behind me. Some Black Series, um, Gundam model kits. Uh, I got Transformers that I'm looking at. I got like just a little bit of everything.
and that's kind of the joy of collecting, right? And I know it
Hmm.
kind of turned me on to like the Northern Outpost is because I was fresh into the line, classified line, the first run, and I was looking for some more Facebook groups, geared to that because that was the one thing that really got me as a kid was the 3 3/4 line, right? Right, like I loved them. I had everything, the vehicles, like the big base that was the size. I tucked it under my bed, and I sold everything off when I was 15 years old. Regretted it ever since, man. Just boxes of figures, bases, vehicles. I kicked myself for it.
That's better than selling it when you're in your late 20s and then getting back into it in your mid 30s and being like, "Damn, I was so close. I was
Yeah,
so
no,
close to
fair
holding
enough.
on to it."
Yeah. But the one thing I noticed about, especially, and I hate shitting on the American groups, but I
Oh, I don't
noticed
mind
just
it.
kind of the heavy handedness and like the toxicity within the group was
Hmm.
was sickening, man. Like, and even the admins in these groups were like, "Whole buddy, like, come on!" Like, and I know what turned me on to the group and just chatting with you and stuff was kind of your positivity, right?
Hmm.
And like even having discussions with you, in like chat and stuff on Messenger, it was, like even when I was getting my head a little scrambled over, some of the toxicity around what people call scalping. I mean, really, it's reselling, and I think we all know now, like especially myself, I know it was more difficult to get classifieds at the beginning. It just
Yes.
was, man. It was a fight, right? Like the online presence wasn't there at retailers. They were, the true exclusives like the first round were showing up scarcely, man, and people were
Hmm.
like fighting for them at True, man. So that kind of turned me off a bit about it at first, but I know
But
having
that was
discussions.
that was sort of my motivation for sort of getting more involved and getting more involved specifically with classified in the Northern Outpost specifically was that in my mind as somebody that had been sort of out of collecting for a long time but had been sort of back in for a little bit but I'd had some really good interactions with some Canadian groups but then I found that the American groups were so they were so combative and it was like a dog eat dog thing and I was like it doesn't have to be this way, like why aren't people helping each other, like why is somebody US group specifically, why is somebody in California dumping on somebody in Ohio about how many they bought or whatever. I'm like, they don't like you're in two separate worlds. Like if that guy bought everything in the store, it doesn't affect you. So why are
Mm,
you so upset about it? But then I sort of got to thinking like, well, if there's other people around me that want these things as bad as I do, maybe we can work together and so I was 100% my motivation was I want to be like the oasis in the desert. I want to be the life raft in that toxic cesspool. I want this to be fun. I want it to be positive. I want people to enjoy collecting classified figures, not resent them. And you'd see early on, I'm sure you saw this in every group, where people were like, "Oh, this line's too hard to collect. I'm out." And people will be like,
mhm.
"Good riddance." And I was like, "Oh, that's really sad." Like I had the opposite
Yeah.
reaction that everybody else did. They were like, "One less guy hunting." And I was like, "Yeah, but there's one less guy hunting that could be on your side." Like, I don't know. That's how I'm wired. I would just much rather help people than kick them in the teeth and stomp on their hands as they're sort of falling. Like it doesn't make sense. These are toys. It should be fun.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, and I think like, is that just a Canadian thing? Where I hate it when people say Canadians are nice because I mean it's not always the fact. We're assholes too, right? I mean,
Yes.
but I think it's kind of crazy that you have done something with Northern that, has brought people together, has helped people out, has built a better community than any of the US ones. And I just left them behind because it's frustrating. And to have your feed filled with the toxicity of that was just not worth it, man. I don't need a part of that in my life, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I should mention, and I mean, there's a lot of great American collectors. There's a lot of great dudes down there. Like, don't get me wrong, and there's several of them in the Northern Outpost group. Um, I just I just didn't want our group to be that way. There was a lot more admin work early on in the group. Um, at this point, if somebody jumps into the Northern Outpost now, um, everybody's on board. So at this point, I don't have to do that much.
Yeah,
But there was way more policing at the start. There was way more, private conversations about like, hey, um, let me point you in the direction of this American group if you refuse if you refuse to behave. Um,
yeah,
good luck and safe travels, but your attitude is just not appreciated here. And um, yeah, I would say sort of month over month, it's gotten easier and easier. And at this point, I barely have to do anything. I
yeah.
delete a couple posts here and there. And usually, when I message people and say, "Hey, your post broke a rule," they're like, "Oh, I forgot. I thought it was in a different group or whatever." Right? They thought they were in a Vintage Joe's group because one of
Yeah.
our rules is keep it classified. Um, which is really just because there's so many great Canadian groups that there's no need to be posting vintage stuff. And there's lots of people too. This is, I think, if you're an old school Joe collector, you probably collect a little bit of everything. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
6-inch collectors that jumped into the classified line, and they don't necessarily want to see the vintage stuff. As cool as it is, I love it. I'm buying all the new releases of the O-ring stuff, and I have shelves of the vintage figures in my office here. It's not that I don't like that stuff; it's that I'm in a group for that as well. But yeah, it's a fantastic group. It's a fantastic community, and ultimately, I mean, I think whether it's Northern Outpost or Knights of the North, which is our Mythic Legions group, or Marvel Legends Canada, or TMNT. What is it? I just joined the Ninja Turtles one, TMNT Canada or something. I think it's a pretty simple name.
I haven't joined that one yet because I usually I think I'm just on Party Wagon now.
Oh yeah, I Party Wagon's good, but
Yeah.
you know what? Somebody's mentioned there in the comments the Turtles groups are awful. I don't know that they're. I mean, I don't know that they're as bad as the GI Joe groups for one thing.
That's fair.
But you see it in every group, and I think the bigger group, the harder it gets to manage. And that was the one exception to a really large group that has a great positive encouraging atmosphere is the Mythic Legions, like the Mythic Legions Facebook group, which is called the
Mhm.
Cabal. If you want to see how a group can operate on a large scale because they've developed such a great culture, that's a really, really good one to look at. Um, it's, I mean, that Aben team is great. Like my counterpart in that group, if you will, is Walter, and he's just such a crazy dude, and like puts in so much time and effort. But it's really down to the people that put in the time and effort. And I think the big thing is that a lot of people don't appreciate how much time and effort it takes to develop a culture in a Facebook group, because social media by default tends to err on the side of dumping on people and trolling and just being awful to each other. um, but it doesn't have to be.
Whatever gets the most clicks and most likes, man, and the most interest. The memes of people eating their popcorn. It's like, oh, this is getting spicy,
Mhm.
but still, man, we don't need that. We don't need that negativity, dude. And that's,
I've got
like I said,
Netflix for that.
Fair enough.
Like if I,
But that's what I mean. Like having conversations with you, you've kind of changed even my thought of it and like scalping and reselling, right?
Mhm.
And it's like if you put in the work, man, you make the friendships at these stores, they'll help you out, man. Like they're the best, and that's the thing. It's
You're making me sound like I'm a scalper, though, and that's
no,
not
no, not at
true.
all. No, not at all. No, and that's not the intention. I'm just
No.
like I know having discussions with you and sharing
Yeah,
my frustrations with it, you kind of changed my
yeah.
thoughts on it a little bit, right?
It's
Especially at the beginning, because I was like, man, fuck this line.
yeah. I so
But
what
I
I
know after putting in the work, making the friendships, and even on the group. And I get it. Some of the guys on our groups are in more rural areas where
mhm,
they don't have access to a Toys R Us or
yeah.
even like a Walmart, right? Like to be able to go in and grab stuff. So that's where the group is great, where they kind of help people out with
Mhm.
stuff, right? Like there's Greg Kletch, I think his last name is. I bought stuff.
Kelch. Yeah, Greg
Kelch,
Kelch.
yeah, he's been great about helping people out. There's some other people you've been great about helping people out, and that's the thing. Like, and we've had this discussion. If you're willing to put in the work, and it's not a lot of work, just go in, make friends. They'll help you out. They'll
Mhm.
look up. Like, I have a couple of friends at a couple different trews here, and they'll go into the system, tell me when the trucks are coming. And like I was saying in my story earlier, I don't go in and clear them out. I go and grab one of each. I grab what
Mhm.
I want, and I get out. You know what I
Yep,
mean? If
yep.
there's local people that I am in contact with, there are a few. I'll message them and say, "Hey, these are at True," and
Yeah.
then I'll post it on the groups and right, just give them the heads up so everybody kind of has a fair shake.
Yeah, and I mean that's like that's the point, isn't it? Like, isn't that what
Yeah,
the point of Facebook is, or shouldn't that be what it is? Like,
yeah, no,
I
absolutely.
mean,
You should be raising up and
I do
helping other
feel like it's
collectors.
I do feel like it's against the flow of social media, but I mean, we have this amazing tool. I'm in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, and if people don't know, it's the middle of nowhere. Um, and you know, I've been fortunate to have sort of made friends through the groups, and I've been sort of the recipient of people offering me things, and I've tried whenever I've been able to sort of offer things to people. And I'm not saying I'm taking a loss on stuff, but I mean, if I make $5 or $10 in the deal, so be it. I also will
Yeah,
generally tell people, "Hey, I'm making $5 or $10. Is that okay?" And they're like, "Yo, yeah, that's fine." Um, but yeah, I mean, it should be fun. It should be about making friends and just shooting the shit
yeah,
with people and like doing this, right? Like,
yeah, man. Yeah,
social media would never have made this sort of a possibility. Like, without social media, I mean, this would never have been a possibility. I would have just been sitting here on a Friday night by myself playing with all these toys, rather than talking about them. Um,
absolutely.
so it's just I'm of the opinion that, like, we can take advantage of this technology and this platform and just make it better. um and as far as, yeah, I'm always preaching, make you don't have to be friends. I mean, I'm not going to these people's houses for dinner, but
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to Toys R Us and, like, ask people how their day is. Don't go in there and be like, "Did you get Joe's? Did you get
No,
this?"
that's it.
Because they're gonna tell you no, because they
Yeah,
don't care about you, because they don't wanna deal
no,
with you.
exactly. You go
And if
in, you
you
be
hear
friendly,
that,
you have a
that's when the guys go
conversation.
like, "Oh, it's a conspiracy. They're holding them all in the back." I'm like, "No, they're holding them in the back for nice people that asked politely, and when they said no, they said, 'Okay, thanks, I'll check back.'" And they go, "Hold on, let me go
Yeah.
and check." Like, you get a different response when you sort of present a different attitude, and I just I'm just wired this way. It's ingrained in me to just be kind and polite and friendly to people, and so far it's worked pretty well.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree, man. A lot of it's an approach, bud. And you just go in there and you say, "Hey, how's it going?" And you eventually you make conversation over time, and you get to know these people, and they end up knowing you, and they wave when you walk in the store, and they'll come over and talk, and oh, I know this is coming in, and they'll give me the heads up, and it's just yeah, it's nice, man. It's nice to just go, and it's nice when it's reciprocated, man. Like just don't
Mhm.
go in and be a d bag, right? Because they're not going to help you. They're going to blow you off
Yeah,
at
for
the end
sure.
of the day, right?
For sure.
So, what else is going on, man? Um, have you magically put together? Man, I've had it. My top five I have locked in, but my top 10, I guess, or my honorable mentions are they keep fluctuating, man. Like
I
I put a list on the um, Lost Cause Discord of my
Mhm.
top 10, but I keep like swapping out or mean to be swapping out other
Mhm.
ones because it's when I walk around the room or I'm looking through my phone, I'm like, oh, wait, shit, yeah, this came out this year too. I'm like, oh wait, this came out. Oh, and it's like I kind of like I'm set on my top five, 100%. I think for now, but
the
that
the
could change.
I I have next to me um just a whole selection.
Fair
I don't
enough.
know what my top 5 is at any given moment, so I just sort of grabbed what I tried to do is grab, like, a representation of all the different lines. I
I did that for my top five, but I fell
Yeah.
short because I don't have any classifieds in my top five. And I like they're the things I have the most of, and they're the
Mhm.
things I enjoy opening. I very rarely have them sitting in box like I do other things. They're always the things I open first.
Yep.
I'm messing around with. I do reviews. I take pictures of, and some of the other stuff just kind of goes to the side. But I don't know. It's messed up.
Well,
But my
that was
top five were things that just really blew me away this year. Like I couldn't keep my hands off of that. I just really enjoyed right out the box, like or was blown away and pleasantly surprised by. Right?
Mhm. That was kinda how I did it too. Like, I kinda looked around, this is one wall, but I mean, effectively all well, 3 because one wall is kinda windows, but 3 of the walls have stuff on them. And so
Mm-hmm.
this morning, I just kind of stood in the middle and looked around, and I was like, "Okay, which ones really kind of, like, jump out at me? Which are the ones that, like, really make me feel a certain kinda way," you know? And I could have picked probably 5 GI Joe classified figures, but alternatively, I could have picked 5 Mythic Legions figures. I could have picked well, here's the thing, I just recently got into you know this, I recently got into the Super 7, TMNT Ultimates, which are
Yep.
absolutely fantastic. But you said they had to be released in 2022. I have no idea when they were released. I think a
Right.
lot of them are 2021. So I picked one that I knew came out this year. Um, and then I have some sort of honorable mentions where, like, if they don't make the top 5, there's still figures that you know could be in the top 5. Um, I I don't know if you watch it or not. You probably do because you're a toy collector. When Dan Larson from Toy Galaxy does his photo booth of, like, his 10 favorites, and
I
he's got
think
like six
honestly,
things, and it
I
takes him an hour, and you're just like, yeah, that's quick.
I honestly think Dan Larson puts out the best fucking content on YouTube, man. Like I
It's
love his
really good.
like retro
Mhm.
shows that he breaks down and it's just the con and then he has like his second channel where he like does like his random like PO box like unboxing that fans send him and
Mhm.
his top 10 and I don't know. And maybe it's the voice and the backdrop, but he just I don't know, man. He really nails it, dude. He's one I look forward to watching on a regular basis.
I will say this because we've been sort of talking about we haven't gotten into toys yet, but we're talking about my background and stuff like that. What I will say is part of the reason that I started doing live videos in the Northern Outpost group, and then by extension in the Mythic Legions group, Knights of the North. If you're a Mythic Legions fan
Yep.
and you're Canadian, you better be in that group. And then by extension, shameless plug, I started doing a highly articulated YouTube channel where I sort of talk about all of the lines that I'm into, and sometimes just talk about stuff like movies if I feel like it, um, was because I was watching so many channels that were so good and just wanted to be a part of that. Like,
Yeah.
um, there's a lot of channels that I don't love because of the same reason that there's a lot of Facebook groups that I don't love. And I'm certainly not going to name names, but I will name names of channels that I absolutely love. Um, Chris McLeod at the Full Force Podcast is my go-to for GI Joe stuff. He and I chat regularly now, and
And you've had him on a few times though
I've had him
too.
on a few times. And he's just a great dude and like a guy that I really like. As soon as I saw his like I was collecting GI Joes and I was watching GI Joe videos, reviews, and news and stuff like that. But as soon as I found his, I wasn't interested in any of the other ones because there's so many that are just so clickbaity, and there's so many like, oh, what's Hasbro doing now? Like Hasbro doesn't care about blah blah blah. And I was
Yeah.
just like, it's none of that's true, none of that's accurate, and none of that makes me excited about GI Joe. But Full Force Podcast does that. Dan Larson gets me hyped on weird stuff that he puts out a Samurai Pizza Cats video, and I'm like, I
Yep.
loved that show as a kid. I'm like, where are the toys
Right.
for that? And then he does the photo booth stuff, like you said, where he's doing the stuff that gets mailed in and the stuff, his top 10 of the year and so on and so forth. And um, that inspired me. The other, I'll mention a couple more quickly. Toying Around, he's on here. Kevin's on here.
He
Super
will.
fun to
Yeah.
watch those videos, those unboxing videos. That's why I do my unboxing videos. I didn't create the format. I just ripped it off. Um, Geek Dad Life. Um,
Yeah. I just recently started watching him.
that again, just dudes that love toys, that are positive, great for news, really fun, great chat
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
which makes it a fun community to be a part of. Um, Ken Poe, Toy Connections out of Vancouver. I'm actually doing a show with him tomorrow morning. I'm doing this, and then I'm doing an unboxing video. Then I'm doing a show with Ken in the morning, and then I might do one tomorrow night. I just love doing this, man. It's just fun. I just like
Yeah.
sort of putting this stuff out there. Um, yes, have some podcast as well. They do a Tuesday night show called Toy Anxiety, um, which satisfies my sarcastic love for sort of conversation. They're
Yeah.
uh, they're they're probably they're not for everybody. I will give you that, but that one's a lot of fun, and I absolutely love that. There's lots that I'm forgetting. There's tons of channels that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
This one is okay. Um, but there's so many. Like
Yeah.
the biggest problem now is that like I was watching Kevin do the Thursday night unboxings with Trevor 16 shooter who does all the Mythic Legion photography.
Yeah.
I chat with him. It's just funny how you sort of make these connections, right? But but that because I was watching that one, I missed like 4 other ones that I wanted to watch, and I had to watch those during my work day today to sort of catch up. There's just so much good content out there. I totally understand why nobody watches my channel.
And that's kind of the thing, right? Is
Mhm,
there is a lot of like tonight, I'm like, well, fuck, man. Like Wade's got the amazing on.
mhm,
There's the what else was there? There's like 3 or 4 good ones on tonight. But I'm like, you know what? This is my time. This is my set. Fuck it.
mhm.
I'm doing it anyways. I'm not gonna do it because the people that watch her, nobody's gonna leave those to come watch this, and they probably don't watch me anyways. So I don't give a shit. I'm not really losing out on anything.
Look, I'm the same way. I tried to pick a slot, so I do kind of Sunday at about 2 p.m. Pacific, which seems to be a soft spot for content, which is probably why nobody uses it because nobody wants to watch a video at 2 p.m. Pacific on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, for me, that's football time normally. So I have to
Yeah.
record football and watch it at like midnight once everybody's gone to bed because nobody wants to watch it after the fact but me. Um, but there's just so much good content, and if you're watching this and commenting and interacting, like, thank you.
Yeah, no,
It's
absolutely.
it's
I guess I
I
should not be a dick and go over some of the stuff that's come up in chat. Toying around stopped in and said hi. So I don't know
Mhm.
if you're still in here, Kev, but thanks, brother. It's appreciated.
He's probably
If
not. He's
nobody
probably
else,
gone to Toys R
no,
Us to shoot a video.
he's gone on, but it's something else. Kev's awesome though, man.
Mhm.
Toying around. That's kind of what led me into everything else, and like, having conversations with Bearded Builds, and then he turned
Mhm.
me on to Lost Cause Collective. I watch Troy Collects on Wednesday nights. I watch you because of the channel, and because of the Facebook group, right? And just showing support, and you're a good dude, and you do good
Ah, thank
stuff.
you.
Sunday might be I was doing Sundays too, before or after you. I started doing it when I first started getting into this, and it was,
Yeah.
just because of work and whatever. And I found Friday nights I end up with more people watching and more people engaging. So even
Oh,
with all the
absolutely.
heavy hitters on, I still have a more active chat, and there's more
I can
people that
assure you,
come in and out.
they're not on my show on Sundays. It's not that like we were splitting an audience. I there isn't one on Sunday afternoon.
But yeah, Omar's in here from Lost Cause. I talk about them all the time. Omar's good shit. I enjoy that podcast. They're straight and to the point. We do talk a lot about positivity, and I love the positivity, but I also like guys that are just upfront, straight shooters and don't fuck around. These guys, that's what I enjoy about them, man. Is yeah, they're all a bunch of good guys who just shoot it straight.
I just want out of the like out of the presenters that I watch, all I want is authenticity. And
Yeah,
you can see it a mile away if somebody's doing something um that's inauthentic. If somebody's doing
yeah,
something that's like just trying to get views and trying to get numbers and like it's it, you can see it a mile away, and as soon as I see that stuff I'm like, I'm out. I have no interest
yeah,
in this. I would way rather be the only one commenting on somebody's live video than being one in a million commenting on one of these like kind of mega channels where it just doesn't, it's not my thing. Like it just doesn't
yeah.
it's weird. um and the one of the really weird things about it, or maybe this is why I've never really thought of this until I'm working this through in my head right now as I'm saying it out loud. I, I'm I am by nature very, very introverted. Like I don't like leaving my house. I never like, and it's really weird when I sort of explain to what extent um I am introverted, because like interacting with people in Facebook groups and doing these videos and stuff like that. And I've only sort of recently learned this from other people that are very much extroverts. The extroverted people actually get charged up because of doing all this stuff.
Yep. Yep.
I'm exhausted
Hmm.
after a weekend of doing a couple videos and sort of the chatting and stuff like that. And I kind of once or twice a year actually step away and take a few weeks off because I can't do it.
Yeah.
Um and and so when somebody's doing something that I see as inauthentic, it triggers something in my brain that goes that just it puts me to sleep. Like I'm just not, I don't want to, I'm not there for that. I'm just not there for that. So
And the passion's not there, man, because it's mailed in. It's phony, right?
well, it's like fake passion, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, and yeah. I guess that's what I was sort of getting at in my brain that I didn't articulate.
No, no.
When I get passionate, it's it. I'm saying this, and people are gonna go, "Yeah, what a jack off!" The guy's he's selling. When I get passionate, it's because I'm really passionate, but it's draining.
Yeah.
When I see fake passion, like they're feeding off of something, and that's the opposite for me. Like it has to come from within for me, or it
Hmm.
doesn't come at all. And if I ever do a video and it's like 40 minutes long, it's because I'm just not feeling it, regardless of sort of what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, I'm out, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah. No,
I
and that's
logged in and I did my best, but I can't do it.
and
Can't
a
do
lot,
it.
and a lot of that I can relate with, man. Like, and it's the difference between me and my wife, where she's very extroverted, and me, I go to work, I deal with enough people at work. When I come home, I just, you know, I want to live in the basement, be around my stuff, watch TV, play video games. I mean, it's nice that she does get me out and experience things that I normally wouldn't do because I
Is
don't
it?
have the desire to. But I do. The thing is, I'm like, I'll grumble, but then I always end up having fun, right? Like I
Yeah,
will go out
yeah.
and I will enjoy it, but I'm fucking exhausted, and I get it. It's the same thing. Like when I do this, sometimes, like I did a stream a few weeks ago, and I was like 45, 50 minutes in, and I can relate. I was just like, I was talking. I'm like, okay, I'm burnt out. I'm out.
Hmm.
And it's like I can relate with that. But then, sometimes I get caught in these streams, and it's kind of nice when I have somebody on the talk too, other than opposed to me talking myself for like an hour and a bit.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'm just like, oh man, okay, I'm tired.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
It's
it's having I kind of made the conscious decision to move like I when I was just doing like Facebook live in groups. It was sort of me, and then it was like I would know all the people that I was interacting with, and it was kind of weird because it was just people that I would I would have been chatting with in messaging anyway.
yeah,
So it was just sort of a different format for that. But once I started doing the YouTube stuff, I really made a conscious effort to try to do as often as possible the videos with somebody else as a co-host, and I try to kind of get different people on for different videos or at different times of the year or what have you, um, because it's a different energy, it's a different balance, and
yeah,
it's the comments are great, but you can't always. It's hard. Another channel that's really great is Mega J Retro. I mean, he interacts with the comments for like hours in the middle of the night, and I'm just like, oh, like that is bonkers. He's just ripping through comments. You see Twitch streamers do it too, where like
yeah.
they're doing something, they're very active, but they're also going through all the comments really really fast and interacting, and it's like it's a skill, and it's not easy.
No, it's
I'm still not sure that I'm built for it, but I'm trying, I'm working at it, I'm trying to get better. I just figured
yeah.
out how to do a thumbnail. I was just taking screen caps from the live videos and using those, but
I know. That's
it's
good. And we were discussing more about it and what
Mhm.
apps and stuff we used, right? And I kind of built something, and then you started doing more on that. And it's kind of cool, man. It's like, and it's not really hard because the apps there help you, kind
Oh,
of. You know what I mean? Like they're really great.
and I feel like I've just kind of unlocked Canva in the last couple days, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm putting out thumbnails left and right, and I'm like, how many can I do in a day? Like,
Yeah.
because once you kind of figure out the rhythm of it, and how you want them to look, then it's almost muscle memory. Um, but I just held off. I was just too lazy, and I just kept thinking. I honestly am not tech savvy. I thought I would need some sort of software, and when people mention Canva, um, I looked at it a couple times, and I was like, no, it's too much. It's too much. But like I said, now that I feel like I've kind of unlocked how it works. I can put one out in like 10 minutes, which might be long. I don't know.
No,
Maybe that's 8 minutes
that's
longer than most
acceptable,
people take,
man.
but whatever.
That's acceptable. Um, no, and that's the thing. Like apps and stuff have made it a lot easier just to kind
Mhm.
of do this, right? Like, and I get it. Like, a lot of people don't. I don't know if they realize or not, but a lot of us have full time jobs. So a lot of us
Yes.
do this in our spare time, man. Like when I'm shooting reviews and stuff, it's like I'm
Mhm.
trying to line stuff up. Sometimes I just end up with a pile of shit under my desk that I don't have time to get
Mhm.
to, and it's just like, I do what I do when I can do it, you know what I mean? And when I have free time, when I don't have life obligations outside of work, but I do this because I enjoy it, because I
Yeah.
really actually enjoy it, and that's the thing. Like, I rather have 5 or 10 people that actively engage and ask questions and I talk to outside of stream than have 100 or 100,000, or you know what I mean? Like, just
Hmm.
to have that core. I don't even know if I'd ever want to be that big, just because of how much work it is just to do this.
For all of the reasons that I've sort of mentioned, and sort of a lot of the things that I've sort of talked about, like being introverted, and wanting to be authentic, and wanting to remain positive despite the fact that um clicks are in negativity, like the numbers are in
Mhm.
negativity. It's I was chatting with another creator, and there's a lot of creators that are kind of chasing numbers, right? And there's no, no disrespect to people that have
And some
goals
are
of
really
like.
good at it, man. Like, it's like, I praise you,
Absolutely,
man. Like,
absolutely.
to be able to hold down a job and still do this at the
Mhm,
extent that they do it, and
mhm,
have families and obligations, it's like, man, good on you. Because to
mhm.
me, I don't, being an introvert, that just, it is exhausting. I enjoy it, but it's still exhausting, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's times where I'll say that I'm gonna do a video, and then just because of timing and because of like how I'm feeling and like my mental space, I just won't do it.
Yep.
And the beauty of sort of the way that I've approached this, and the way that I sort of always try to be honest and sort of open and transparent about it, is that um, I want it to always be organic. Um, when I started the channel, when I was sort of, I was encouraged to do it because I was already doing Facebook Live videos, and people were like, "Why don't you just do it on YouTube and then open up the audience?" And I was like, "Well, because I know that these four people want to hear what I have to say, or pretend at least.
Yep.
Um, I don't know that anybody else wants to." And when I first started, I was like, "Man, if I start a channel, like if I get 100 subscribers, I would be like over the moon." Because to me it's like, if I'm not going after the numbers, then it feels like it's genuinely 100 people that are interested in what I have to say.
Yep.
When your channel is 100,000, it's a different beast entirely. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't like 100,000 people to want to listen to me rant for an hour on Sundays. Um, But I'm never, and I see you, Sam. Well, there's the comments over there. I see Sam Rock. You,
Yeah.
you subscribed. I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciate that, and because you've heard me talk, and you've chosen to sort of go and subscribe, and that to me means way more than just like having the numbers. Like, I would rather know that people like my energy, and enjoy my opinion and sort of my perspective, rather than there just be a number of people, right? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it
absolutely.
um and when there's people that are like, I've seen my subscriber count like not going up as fast as it was 3 months ago. I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, but you've got 3,000 subscribers. Like, what what difference does it make? Like,
That's it, man. Can you actively engage with those 3,000 people?
oh, I only had 60 new subscribers in the last 7 days. I'm like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, that means there's 60
That's
more
great.
people that want to hear the bullshit that comes out of your mouth, man.
That's
So
fantastic.
praise that, right?
I
Yeah, but
I
then
started
again,
I
that's the human
started under
nature,
the
man.
impression that nobody wanted to listen to me talk. My wife tells me all the time that she doesn't want to listen to me talk. So that's 0 for 1 at home. My kids certainly don't listen to me. So it was like, like, the odds of getting 100 people that want to listen to me are slim to none, based on my very limited sample size at home.
Fair enough.
So it's I don't know. You just have to have fun doing it. It's the same as collecting, right? Like when I do the videos, I just want it to be fun. And
Yeah.
you posted you were doing a video tonight, and I just sort of messaged you. Not really. I didn't necessarily want to be on. I'm happy to be on, but I was like, "Hey,
I'm
you ever
glad
need a
you're
co-host?" And you're like, "Well, if you're free," and I was like, "All right, let's do it."
here.
Because we chat regularly and we hang out.
Yep.
I'd probably be watching if I wasn't on. So this just
No,
means I
that's
don't have to
awesome.
type. So it's actually this is like the lazy way for me to watch your show.
And I'm with you there, man. There's a lot of times, like even toying around, I'll sit there and watch it. I'll be unboxing stuff. I'll be on my
Hmm.
phone, and I'll do all my hey, what's ups, and But
Hmm.
after that, I kind of dig in here and there, but I'm
Hmm.
just watching, man. Like I don't comment because I'm old, man. I'm still very much not a texter. You know what I mean? Like if my
Yeah,
kid texts me, I'll pick up and I'll fucking call her because it's easier for me to say what I need to say than sit here. I got big thumbs. I hit the wrong fucking keys. I just get frustrated and I'll just call her. I'll be like, hey, what's up? What do you need?
I I'm also pretty sarcastic, and I don't think that a lot of the comments that I make land in the way that I mean them to. Um,
That's fair.
so that one's a tough one. I would be lying if I said that I've never like deleted a comment sort of after I've typed it out. Like before I've hit enter, I've been like, "No, I don't think this is really gonna come off
I don't
the
think this
way."
is gonna hit. I
No,
know exactly where you're
no.
coming from, man. And that's the thing. Like for me, when I started getting into this, it was from me watching other people. My wife's
Hmm.
like, "Why don't you just do this?"
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, nobody wants to listen to the budget Seth Rogen talk about toys for an hour. she's like, she's like, just do it. And I'm like, fuck. I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And that's, I just started coming on, doing something, talking, unboxing toys because the
Hmm.
mountain just kept growing. And, like I said, it's, oh, I'll get to a review and then it'll sit there. And then I don't, man. And then it just gets left in the pile. So it was a way, and kind of going off what Kev does, I was like, well, whatever. I'll just start streaming and unboxing some shit and talking about, some random news. And it's, that's kind of what I'm going with.
Yeah, I started doing open late, and I actually came up with the idea of the title because I found that I'm never I mean, as I said, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm never the
Yep.
first person to get anything. So open late was kind of a play on words because it would be at night, and being on the West Coast, that's later for people that are potentially watching on the East Coast. So when I do unboxings, it's usually like 8 p.m. Pacific or later, which is like 11 p.m. East Coast. Um, but the sort of the duality of open late is that I'm also like I open like the Fantastic Four figures that came out a year ago, and I was
Yeah.
like super hyped to get those. And I was like, nobody cares. Why would anybody watch me open these year-old figures? There's no excitement in these figures for anybody but me.
Yeah.
Um, but but I guess in some way, like, in my head, the only thing I can think of is that people enjoy people that are hyped on toys. So that's the
Yeah.
saving grace is that like
Yeah. No, absolutely.
it's pretty rare. Like my Spider-Man's a good example to actually, reference a toy. What are we 59 minutes in? Uh, has a scratch on it, but I wasn't like, this is garbage. I'm
Yeah.
over this Spider-Man because it has a scratch on it. It's on his back. What do I care? It's never going to be displayed that way anyway. So
Nobody's going to see it unless they're looking at it. And nobody else looks at them that closely other than us, anyways, right? They're like, oh, you got some new stuff on the shelf there. Cool. And that's kind of the extent of it, right? And even if they say cool, often it's my wife going, that's new. And I'm like, what? No, what are you talking about?
I got a big box. Hold on. I got this box
Yeah,
today.
that's the blimp.
That's a
Jesus,
blimp
dude.
and a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other stuff.
Is that from E Collectibles?
Yeah. And my
Mm-hmm.
wife goes, "Should I just take the box now and wrap it all up?" And I was like, "Pump the brakes. You can wrap some of it, but some of it I'm gonna need to open in the next couple days."
Fair enough. So,
This I'm
what do
opening
you
tonight.
have? Oh man, that does look sick, dude. I
Well,
think
as soon
you
as we're
also
done
got
here, I'm probably gonna I'm gonna change my setup and open that.
the. Did you do the? You got the Father Christmas as well?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a great looking figure, man. I can't get into another line. I had that thing in the cart a couple of times, but with shipping it in exchange, it was still close to $100, man. I just couldn't do it, dude. Like, where did you get it from there? Yeah, that's what I mean. It was like, and then it came back up again, and I was like, oh, I put it in the cart, and then they give you the emails, right? Hey, this is in your cart. Do you want to come check out? You know what I mean? And the reminders, you forgot something here. And I'm like, no, man, I saw what it would cost shipped here, dude. I can't, not for 1 6-inch figure, dude. But it looks fantastic. And it's another line
Mythic Legions
I can't get into,
Mythic
man.
Legions is one Mythic Legions is a line where there's a few they're not tricks, but there's like a few things where you can kind of work around some of that. Like so Father Christmas had like a limit of 3.
Yeah,
So I ordered 3 and then, 2 will go to other people, but it's cheaper to order 3 and pay the shipping than it is for 3 people to order 1 each and get it sent.
yeah, no.
Um, if it's not an exclusive, so that one's an exclusive. This Red Krampus is a retailer exclusive. So Mike at E Collectibles was able to get this one.
Yeah,
Um, they had a Four Horsemen exclusive that's a black Krampus. This is a red Krampus. So it's the same figure, just different color deco. I didn't get the black one. I just waited and got this one.
I
Um,
like the red one better. I mean, from pictures, I'll probably never have it in
so do
hand, but
I.
my preference would be the red one.
Yeah. But really, like, I mean, if you're in the US and you can order direct from Four Horsemen, that's the way to do Mythic Legions. If you're in
Mm,
Canada, get them from Mike at E Collectibles because by the time you pay the shipping, you pay the duty, you pay the sneaky FedEx thing that they mail to you an invoice after the
yep.
fact. You don't pay it like when they drop it off. And then they give you this excuse like, "Oh, well the paperwork didn't get there in time. That's an error." It's literally every single time you get a delivery from Four Horsemen that happens. In the group, people talk about it all the time. The people that are like the
Yeah.
first time ordering from Four Horsemen, they're like, "Did you get your invoice yet?" And they're like, "No, it got delivered and nothing." And I'm like, "Wait for it." And then they're like,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like a week later they get hit with this FedEx
Fee.
surcharge nonsense, and it is
Yep.
nonsense.
Oh
You can
yeah.
dispute it, and I do, and I have. Um, and there's ways around it. So you can figure some of that stuff out, but they're not cheap.
No, fair enough.
But you do Mezco and you do Hot Toys and you do like forget it. You're telling me that these are expensive figures. You're full of it.
Okay, the thing is with Hot Toys, I don't order directly from Sideshow. There is a Sideshow rep. There's a couple local who I get my figures from,
Oh yeah,
and
they're
you
40
don't have to.
bucks.
No, I don't have to pay shipping. I just have to pay taxes, man. There's no duties, no shipping, and
Yeah,
I
but
just pay the tax, man.
there's,
But still,
there's
I mean, it's a $300-400 figure, man. Like, yeah, I know. As you can see, the wall behind me, yeah, it's
mhm.
ridiculous. yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, Mike
Merry
Mike
Christmas,
from
Kev.
E Collectibles is getting into Hot Toys and the sideshow Star Wars stuff. And
Yeah,
he's like sending me these pictures, and he's like, "You would not believe how much this costs." And I'm like, "I don't want to know."
you don't want to know how much I've spent, and I don't think my wife wants to know.
If anybody I don't know your viewers well enough to know whether, but Mike actually just picked up the Dream X Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
aftermarket.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, I
I
know they look great, and that's the thing. Like I already have like I think I talked about this before. Is there's like I use 1/6 kit. I've been using them for like 10, 15 years. Right? I think he's based in Hong Kong or China,
mhm.
but it's where originally that's where I got like a lot of third party and like custom like blank bodies and stuff from. But he's been carrying a lot of 112 stuff and a lot of the other, and he's bringing in the DreamX as well. So I ended up pre-ordering it from him before Mike posted about them. But
Mhm.
they're man, like when Mike posted the video of like the articulation and stuff,
Oh,
it
yeah.
looks
Oh, yeah, yeah. The Mecha Leo.
it, yeah, it
No,
looks
they did,
phenomenal.
but what I'm talking about is they did turtles, like one. I think they're like 1/6 scale
They're
turtles.
one
Like,
six. Oh, I have them all
oh, you do have.
except
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't have April and I don't have Casey Jones, but I do have the four turtles and I have Shredder.
Do you have
And
both
those were
Krangs?
I do not have the Crangs, the Cerebro, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because he
Mike's
didn't
only
have any
missing April, but he
articulation,
only
man.
got. What's that?
He has he has 5 points of articulation. I was like, I'm not paying that much for a solid piece of plastic.
Hmm.
And then I buy Mondo figures, so never mind. Yeah, it my tastes are all over the place, man. That's the thing.
But it's all relative. Like, it's so funny because um when you hear people, like, when like so classified figures at Toys R Us are 45 Canadian dollars. They're $50 after tax, effectively Canadian. So
Mhm,
it's about
mhm.
$13 US. Um, but the when they went from like $30 to like
They were
35,
20. They were
36,
25 when they first came out, man. They were 24.99.
they never were here. So I don't know,
Yeah,
like, why they were 29.99, the first ones that I ever saw at Walmart in Kelowna. So if you got them for less, that's great. But for Toys R Us, like Toys R Us, this is also like 2 years ago. That was before they got bought out by Sunrise Records. And they would
yeah.
put them on, they would put all, like, pretty much any and all Hasbro products on for like 20% off. Kind
Mhm.
of once a month, it felt like they'd cycle through like classified legends, you know, uh Power Rangers Lightning Collection. I was waiting for what
Yes.
it's actually called. Like Black Series, and like you just have to wait for it to come back around to the one that you wanted, kind of thing. So I was
Mhm.
getting GI Joe classified figures for 24 Canadian. 23.97 was the 20% off price of 29.99. And I was buying multiples of everything, using them for kit bashing and fodder. I have 5 of the Cobra Island troopers. I have 6 of the infantry. Like, I was buying 4, 5, 6 of any troop builders.
Yep.
They're not going on sale anymore. The pricing is gone up, and it's just sort of changed it for me. And if you're looking at a $50, figure at Toys R Us, they're less everywhere else. I don't know what
Yeah.
Toys R Us is thinking. Um, but I was saying this to somebody the other day. Um, Hasbro kind of pushed me towards some of the, or maybe it was even you that I was having this conversation with. Hasbro's kind of pushed me towards some of the more independent brands. Um,
Yep.
as their prices have gone up, a lot of the other ones have sort of stayed where they were. And some of the things that seemed like a ridiculous amount for a 6-inch scaled action figure, it's $5 or $10 more. And I'm like, eh, would I rather have another one of these figures for kit bashing, or one from this line that's, you know, just different, something different.
Yep.
So that's,
No, absolutely.
my collection in the last couple of years is diversified as a result of some of those price increases.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think Mythic Legions is a perfect example of that,
mhm.
right? Because the amount of accessories that they add, extra hands, um, what else? And then they have like the upgrade packs that you can buy with extra heads and
Mhm.
extra accessories and stuff too, right? So you're getting more bang for your buck, typically, right?
So the lack of hands with classified doesn't bother me that much, and I guess it's because like
As long as you got a gun holding hand, I'm good.
yeah, I mean, like when I think of the 3 3/4 inch like O-ring figures, they could barely hold their guns, and you put it in their hand, and it was where it went,
Yeah,
and you couldn't change their wrist articulate. Like if the gun went this way in their hand, you had to turn the figure to turn the gun. Like you didn't have the luxury of like wrist articulation.
yeah,
Um, so the fact that we have so much articulation in these, I'm okay with the hands. And the way that they've kind of designed them, you can still get them to sort of hold the um, you can still get them to hold a rifle in two hands. You just have to heat the hand up a little bit or bend it so that it sort of
yeah.
grips. It's fine. I'm okay with it. I have tons and tons of spare hands that never see the light of day from some other lines. So, you know, that argument is sort of six of one, half a dozen of the other to me, in the sense that no extra hands. Maybe you don't have that one hand that you want. 37 spare hands, you're never going to use them all. So
And
I don't know. I
and
mean,
not
I get that. I hear that. I mean, it's if you're a toy photographer, I can understand that because
yeah,
you want different hands, you want fists, you want if it's sort of a martial arts figure, like Storm Shadow could have come with some sort of like kung
yeah.
fu
Like
chop hands.
kung fu, yeah, 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 yeah.
I get it.
No,
I
and
get it.
that's it. Absolutely. Like these guys, for instance. Like you start messing with Mezco, like these
Mhm,
guys came like with like 15, 20 hands each. And it's like I'll pick a couple hands of them doing something. Eventually I might switch it up,
mhm,
but most of those hands are staying in the box. You know
mhm.
what I mean? Like, and it's gonna go in a box in storage, and it'll go in a dark, cold place, and I'll never see it again until I pull them out to swap them or sell them or pack them up because
Mhm.
whatever we move or whatever, right? Like stuff changes.
Yeah.
Or I end up with boxes full of, or cartons full of just accessories. Like I have a bunch of those dollar store, like craft ones, and those are just like extra hands and accessories that I have there to easily swap out that rarely often get swapped out,
Mhm.
right? And it's I don't know it sometimes, and I think we run into that when we end up with too much shit. Is you get one or two that really hits, and you kind of mess with that the most, but a lot of the times I'll pose a figure and put it on the shelf with the rest of them, and very rarely do I pull it off to mess with. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that's kind of where it's at, right?
And as we accumulate more and that figure gets pushed further and further back on the shelf, it's less and less likely that you're going to pull it out again. So, yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. I try to kind of reorganize and sort of shuffle my shelves as much as I can because I find that if it comes off the shelf, I'll play with it for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
like, reorganizing my shelves is kind of like my subconscious way of playing with all my figures.
Yeah.
Um, I've been going through my Legends figures and sort of reorganizing them, setting them up, adjusting the teams, and sort of as you get a figure that goes with a team, maybe it doesn't fit on that shelf anymore. You got to sort of move it to a different shelf, so everybody gets reposed. And um, my kids like the toys too, so that's I try as much as I can to kind of get them involved, and they're allowed to play with most of this stuff. There's very few exceptions. Some of the vintage GI Joes are the exception, but the
Yeah.
Legends, the Classified, even the Mythic Legion stuff, I typically will let them play with. Some of it's supervised, some of them they can sort of play with on their own, but yeah. Um, should we get into our top figures? An hour and 15
Absolutely,
minutes in.
man. That is the title of the stream, but
Somebody asked a while back which TMNT Ultimates, and I don't know if they were asking which TMNT Ultimates that I've gotten or which ones I was
are on
curious.
your list. Yeah,
are on my list.
that's
The thing is, I got them
already
all in 2022, so they're all on my list. I just don't know which ones are. Although the one that I pulled, I think might be a bit of a surprise because, well, when we get there, we'll get there. But
okay. So do you want to do one at a time, or like you do one and I'll do one?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mine's gonna be in no particular order because I'm just gonna.
Okay, that's fine. I kind of have an order set
Okay,
for mine, but it doesn't matter. Go off of whatever you want, man.
okay. I'm gonna start with one. The reason that it's not higher, and the reason that I'm sort of comfortable saying that this is like my number five, will be kind of obvious when I show it because it's less of an action figure and more of a just an
And
awesome
of course,
figure.
and it's so Canadian. That's a nice mooses you got there, eh, bud?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, eh? So
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
this
it's
is
beautiful, man.
Alder Moose from the Mythic Legions line. This is from the Alithia wave. Um
That's
it
beautiful, man.
it really is. It really is. And if
I'm
I'm being
almost ashamed
honest,
to
like
start showing mine.
the pictures of this thing are great, but in
Mhm.
hand, like it's chef's kiss. This thing is phenomenal. And it's a mount. Like this is designed to be ridden into battle. Um, by within the lore, it's meant to be ridden into battle by a specific character. Um,
Yeah,
but it's just it's awesome. And I mean, you've probably seen the Mythic Legion's horse that people have used for like classified figures and other lines. Because they do scale pretty well. It's a little bit bigger than sort of like a Hasbro 6-inch scale. It's more of a 110 scale.
yeah,
Um, but the design, the sculpting, and everything is just phenomenal. And this thing is an absolute beast, and it looks great on a shelf, and it looks great in photos, and it was the
yeah.
inspiration for our uh, Canadian Mythic
Logo.
Legions group sigil. This is that's our sigil there. But
Yeah, man. Like, like even on this camera, it looks impressive. So
yeah,
I can only
yeah.
imagine how good it looks in hand. Like just
Mhm.
the painted details, and yeah, it looks fantastic, man.
Oh, it's yeah. I mean, like it'd be so easy for this to just be molded in brown plastic and they'd be done with it. But like Mythic
Yeah,
Legion's figures are like painted head to toe. Like there is not a square millimeter for the Canadian viewers on this that is not painted. And because they're painting the whole thing, there's there's gradient and nuance to the browns and stuff like that. Like it's not just
mhm.
brown; it's appropriately shaded, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
no, yeah, no, that's fantastic.
They're not cheap, but they are fantastic.
No, they're not. But yeah. On to I guess my number five
Hmm.
is my Mondo exclusive 1/6 Joker from Batman the animated series.
Those are great.
Uh, yeah, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. This was a part of my childhood, man. Like he's always been my like Mark Hamill has always been my
Hmm.
definitive Joker. Like even after Ledger, it's like he's great and I love him, but it's always been Mark Hamill. When I found out later on that it was the same guy that played Luke Skywalker, you know what I mean? Like I found this out, much earlier, but
Yeah, I
still,
was
it
gonna
was like
say, did you know when you were watching the cartoon that
I
it was the
didn't
same
know when I
guy
was
that
watching it,
you
man.
know?
And then it was like years later, because this was before social media was even a thing, right? And I
Hmm.
didn't really read the credits. I know I ran home from school to catch the episode
Hmm.
because it always started before I got home, and I would run home just so I could catch it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like they did a great job with this, man. Like I have like I'm missing a few, but I have the majority of the like DC Direct Batman animated series figures. Like I have the
Hmm.
Batcave, I have the Batmobile, and most of the figures. And the Joker, and that's great. But this man, it's fantastic. It's better than the Batman that they released. The Batman has skinny legs. I got the re-release when I ordered this guy, and without a stand, he doesn't stand. He's,
Mm.
where this guy, he's more posable. He has like 5 or 6 different head sculpts with different expressions. They're all
Was
fantastic.
that the like the special edition bonus one?
Yeah, I got
It
the
had the extra
exclusive.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
knew it was coming out, man, and I was on it the moment it came up.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's beautiful, man. Like he still poses nicely. He stands great on his own, and he just has a presence on the shelf, man. And it's
Hmm.
just, yeah, I was blown away. I love this figure. It's, yeah. I'm
Hmm.
surprised he's not higher up on my list, but there's a lot of good stuff. So,
Hmm.
but that's kind of, yeah, that's my number 5 because I'm starting from the bottom up. So what's next for you?
Well, Des Refan said for the TMNT Ultimates, which are not sure if 2022. Oh, that one as well. You can. Okay, I'll do this one first. The
Okay.
Raphael re-release, was he 2022
Oh,
or late
because they
2021?
re-released him. They did re-release him a second time, but they put him out in production like more than once. You know
It's
what I
yeah,
mean?
and
Like he,
mine's the second version. It has the different colored weapons stand.
yeah,
So is that 2022? Does that qualify?
man, whatever. I like for me the only
Because if it does,
qualification
that changes my
is
selection.
it's you know what? I don't really have a stipulation. Mine is I don't care if you bought it this year and it's something that you enjoyed,
All
then go
right.
ahead, man.
I'll have to
That's
grab that
how
off
I
the
am with
shelf in a second then.
it.
He says it was kind of late 2021, but not sure about Canadian delivery. Well, my delivery was like 2 months ago, so I'm gonna say that that was 2022. He also asked, can you order Mythic Legions directly up there? Not through Four Horsemen, like you can, but it's you order from them, and then the shipping is outrageous, and then you got to pay FedEx. Like I said, FedEx mails you an invoice. Like FedEx doesn't even have the balls to deliver the invoice with the figures because they know that it's extortionate. Um,
um,
but but we can eCollectibles is a Canadian website where you can get Mythic Legions. And if I'm being perfectly honest, having ordered from Four Horsemen a couple times because people told me this was the case, but I didn't believe it until I went through the whole process. It's the same price to just order them from Mike with
yeah,
zero hassle and zero stress. So I just order from Mike. Um, like I said, if you're in the U.S., if you order from Four Horsemen, it's a great deal because they're effectively selling at like a warehouse price, like a manufacturer's price. It's like factory
yep,
outlet pricing. Um, but if you order from like Big Bad Toy Store or like one of the third party retailers, you're paying like the actual MSRP. And by the time you do that and then ship it, it would be more than what you can get them from eCollectibles. Um, so like I said, except for the exclusives, I just they're not even up for order from eCollectibles yet, but I've already sent Mike my order for what I want for the Necronominus wave. He knows what I want, and once the orders go live, my order will be placed. But yeah,
fair enough.
I don't bother ordering from Four Horsemen directly. Um, they're a small company. I mean, they're not stressing about international stuff. They let the international distributors and stuff deal with that. So.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, Sam said they also have the second version of the Raphael,
And
and
how
he's
good is it?
collecting
Like
great.
that was the first Ultimates that I got, and I was like, "Yep, I'm getting them all." It's well, we'll get there when we get there. Let me go grab it off the shelf so that it's next to me for when it makes it into my top 5. Hold on.
Okay, fair enough. So, well, he's off camera.
Oh, it's
I do.
close. My office is small.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 4. What's number 4 gonna be? Hold on. Yeah, okay, this is a bit of a cheat. I'm gonna do this as a bit of a cheat, and I may run out of numbers because I might have done my math wrong. But hold on. So I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna say that my number four is GI Joe Classified Army Builders. Um, and what I'm also gonna say is that box that I showed you from Mike has more army builders in it. I haven't even gotten to them yet. I haven't even had time to like get
Crimson
them out of the
Guard.
box. They're just
Crimson
so
Guard.
fun, and they've nailed them. They've absolutely nailed
Oh
the
man,
army builders. Like people
they're
people will kind of go like, oh, I don't like this character's face sculpt, or maybe the deck goes off, but like the army builders have all been
have
awesome.
been hits, man. Like the Crimson Guards, dude, are fantastic. I got
Mhm,
4 of those in hand on the shelf right now. I just opened another one last night, just playing around with them while I was watching TV.
mhm,
In between matches of Call of Duty, I'm just messing around, posing them up, right? And they're beautiful, man. Like there isn't one like, and that's the thing for me. It was hard because I didn't get my bats and my alley vipers till February from Hasbro Pulse because Canada gets everything later than in the U.S.
mhm,
But I think it was late January, early February this year when I got those. So
mhm.
I'm like, do they count? But so much of good stuff has come out since. Like the Cobra officers are phenomenal, man. Like they're great. Yeah, like I love the color scheme. I love the accessories. I love how they're bringing back, you know, they're gotten rid of the Nerf guns and they have more, like more real looking weapons now. It's just,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Like that's to me, that's perfection for a trooper right
That's
there.
I have between the standard infantry and like the Cobra Island infantry, I think I have like 12. And then I have like
Okay,
3 or 4 of those. So like I'm pretty good for like blue shirts. Um this guy, like I wasn't a huge bat fan from like the vintage stuff or from the cartoon. I just always thought that
yeah,
they were just cannon fodder. Um but this
which
figure
is the
changed my
purpose
mind.
of troop building, man. It's having
There's
cannon fodder.
It's so good. Like this one was
It's
better than I
so
thought it was
good.
gonna be. But my heart truly lies with the Alley Vipers.
Fair enough.
I mean, I know that I'm in the minority because there's tons of people that sort of see the orange and blue and are a bit turned off by it. I see the
I think
orange and
it's
blue and
fantastic, man.
oh,
I love it. I love it, man. Like it's such a callback to the original figure, man, and it's just I don't know. I think it's perfection, dude. Like that's what keeps dragging me in, man.
mhm,
And I had to limit myself because I'm only doing 4 troop builders, like regular troop builders, and then if there's an offset of the same figure, I'm only doing 2.
so
You know what I
Python
mean?
Patroller stuff like
Python
that.
Patrol, I'm only
Yeah,
doing 2 of each because I at the beginning I got ridiculous. Like when the troopers, like the exclusive ones came out, I managed to get like 5 of them from Toys R Us online. So I have those. I have like 12 or 13 infantries, and
yeah.
I was just like, okay, I don't have shelf space.
Mhm,
It's getting out of hand, so I had to limit myself, and that's the limit I stick with. If I end up, and then if I order a couple more, I'll either return them or I'll sell them on Facebook
mhm,
buy and sell. Because the one thing I haven't had trouble reselling after the fact is GI Joe classifieds.
mhm.
Like I'll post Marvel Legends, I post Hot Toys, I post NECA, I post
Yeah,
Mezco, and they just sit there, man. They don't move. People don't hit me up. But classifieds, I have no issue selling after the fact.
yeah.
Like I do the toy show. There's a con, like a collector con here twice a year,
Mhm,
November and June, and I do that. And my GI Joe stuff always goes. Like the
mhm,
extras I'll bring, and they always go, man. They fly right away.
mhm.
there's definitely the desire is there, man. And it's kind of nice that Hasbro's finally catching on, even though they're killing us at the end of the year this year. But I think the Hiss or the HasLab Hiss tank kind of opened their eyes when that thing blew up, and you know it yeah. I don't think they were expecting it to blow up like it did, right, and to hit those marks as quickly as they did. And I think that's why they were so quick after the fact to push other things out because they thought they would hit like that, and they haven't, man. So
I think there was, it's funny because I don't know that that was just luck in terms of timing, because I think there might
yeah,
be an element of that. There's an element of, like, there wasn't any 6-inch scale GI Joe vehicles, so there was an appetite for it.
yeah,
Um, People were still at home. A lot of people were still at home. A lot of people were still getting checks from the government. Um, there was there was a lot of irrational spending at that time, so I think it sort of was a bit of a perfect storm in that respect. Um, but I do think that, like, in different groups, right? Different collectors groups, you see people saying like, "Oh, why don't they make this? Why don't they make this? Why don't they make this?"
yeah.
And sometimes you kind of go, "Yeah, just because you're saying it really loudly doesn't mean that everybody else wants one." And I
That's
think that
fair.
was one of those rare exceptions where, like, there was all the people saying like, "Hey, we want 6-inch scaled classified vehicles," and Hasbro was probably like, "I don't know." They put it out, and it just absolutely went gangbusters, and they hit. Like, I worked that day, and I didn't even order mine first thing in the morning. I ordered
No,
mine at
I
night
didn't
when I got
either.
home.
I
They'd
waited like
already
24
cleared,
hours.
like, the early bird before I'd even ordered any. Like, they cleared early bird within 8 hours because
Yeah,
they went live with it at the beginning of my workday, and it was already over the, like, 9,000, 8,000, or 9,000 minimum that it needed to unlock that early bird. And it just kept hitting all the tiers. It's unfortunate that they kind of ran out of tiers, because I think they probably could have sold more.
they would have got more. Yep.
I mean, I think what you get for that price is very reasonable. And
I think so. Too. I absolutely. That's the thing is, think the worth is there, man, and that's why I went in for two. Even if I'm definitely. I know we've talked about it, and you're planning on selling the Cobra Commanders. I'm definitely opening one for sure, and I'm either going to sell or just keep the other one carded because I love. I do agree, and I did pick up the repaint of the first Commander
mhm,
finally, like probably a month ago,
mhm.
and I love that coloring. Like that's like my de facto Cobra Commander. But
Yep.
I don't know, man. That OG one just hits that nostalgia, man. And it's yeah, I'm definitely opening one. What I do
It's
with the second one, I don't know, but
Yeah, it's different for everybody. You bring up a good point. Like, I'm in the, and I think it's a minority too. But maybe not. I mean, maybe the minority is the vocal minority, and the people that are sort of shouting for sort of vintage representations in a 6-inch scale. But I'm like, I have those or the 3 3/4 inch O-ring figures.
yeah,
I mean, do I need to replace them in a different scale? I want updates. I want more modernized versions. Like, I love that first wave, gold armor and all. Like, I thought they looked cool. I thought it
yeah,
was
I do
in
too.
line with what GI Joe was in my in my nostalgia, that it was
Hmm.
a little bit futuristic, it was a little bit, nerfy, if you wanna call it that, kinda
Oh yeah,
sci-fi
absolutely.
element sort of coming in. It worked for me, and I bought the video game, I played the video game, I love the video game. Um, I'm not a gamer, so that's probably why I was less, critical of it.
Fair
It's
enough.
really clumsy to play, but I had
Yeah,
fun, I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's a line that seems to be going from strength to strength. And the I've sort of now decided, because there's too much stuff that I collect. I've decided that for the most part, Python Patrol and Tiger Force, I'm not going to mess with. I got the Outback The Python Patrol I've
Dude,
had in my possession, but I
he's
don't think I use
awesome
it.
though. He is
Yeah,
awesome.
but we're gonna get the thing is we're gonna get a standard Recondo, and so that's where I'm
I
sort of like,
know.
do I want that one for fodder or not? And if not, then I don't really need that figure. Bazooka to me is gotta have the red shirt. I'm definitely gonna buy the red shirt. So do I need that white shirt as well? Or do I put that money towards more turtles?
Yeah,
Like
no,
that's
fair enough.
the you have to balance those things. And so that's sort of where I'm at now is that the sub teams might be the thing that I don't collect in that line in the same way that like there's sort of certain things in other lines that I don't collect, right? You can't have everything. Well, I can't have everything. There's people that can have everything. I can't have
I
everything, so
can't, man.
I have
I
to
need
draw
that.
the line somewhere.
We've talked about resolutions between us, but yeah. Which I guess the HasLab thing leads me to my number four. My wife came in and she's like, "That's fucking huge." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been sitting on the shelf for a month and a half, and you just
Whose
noticed it
child
because
is
I
in your
put it
office?
down." This thing blew me away, man. Like I didn't go in on the HasLab. I ended up having a local friend that bought
Mhm.
two, and he sold it to me for pretty close to retail, man. Like he messaged me with shipping and stuff. Yeah, I pretty much paid close to retail for this guy,
Mhm.
man, and I couldn't pass it up because everybody else I'm buying stuff. I refused to pay what they were asking. At first, it was 1,000. Then prices went down when people weren't buying. The
Yep.
cheapest I saw them on there was $800, and I'm like, I'm not
Uh-huh.
paying that. I'm not,
Uh-huh.
right. But he messaged me and said, "Hey, I got an extra one." He showed me a picture of him having this on the shelf next to his quarter scale sideshow Galactus statue. And I'm like, man, that's beautiful. And it's fantastic. Like the whole process of opening this guy blew me away, man. Like his accessories are three Marvel Legends figures, man.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And he has like different head, he has different face plates, the articulation, like his hands, his fingers move, man. Like he's
They're
got
all
rat.
articulated, right?
Yeah, they're all articulated,
Mhm.
man. Like you can have him give you the finger.
Mhm.
Like he's great, man. Like all the joints are tight, they're all ratcheted, so like
Yeah.
even his bicep, man, is ratcheted, right? So when you
Yeah.
get him in a pose and get him on the shelf, I have very little fear of him tipping over. You know what I mean? Like he's
Ever.
just and he's solid, man. Like
Mhm.
this is a solid chunk of plastic, but
Mhm.
articulated like a 6-inch Marvel Legends. It's
Mhm.
beautiful, man. Like
Mhm.
I'd have it higher on my list, but then it wouldn't be fair because it's just I don't know, man. Like I the whole opening of this thing was an experience, dude. Like even the box, because I picked up two Hot Toys at the time too,
Uh-huh.
and like those are a decent size. They're 12-inch figures in a box, and the box is usually 13, 14, 15 inches tall, right? And putting a couple of those and then grabbing this thing that's like almost 3 feet wide by like 2 feet long, and I'm stuffing that in the back seat of my truck. I'm just like, holy crap, man. I'm like, and then getting it home and trying to open it, and it was a process, but it's I don't
Mhm.
know. I know I'm gushing, but I was not expecting to be as in love with it as I was.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And getting it later after everybody else
Yeah.
and seeing the
I
pictures and stuff. It didn't prepare me for having it in hand, man.
yeah. When they announced the Sentinel, as a massive X-Men fan, I was like, I would really like that.
Yeah,
As a rational human being, um, I just couldn't justify it, and it wasn't even like the price, right? Like I thought the price was fair. I think the price for Galactus was fair. I think for a lot of the
yeah,
HasLabs, the price is fair for what you're getting. Not all of them. I won't get
not
into
all of them.
details,
Yeah,
but um, with the Sentinel, I just like the way my office is set up. I literally have to like reconfigure something to like find a spot for it, and I just didn't. It didn't make any sense to me. Like it's the size of my kids, and when my kids are in here, it feels crowded. So I was like,
Yeah.
I just can't do it. Um, but they're amazing. Both the Sentinel, weak knees aside, and
Yeah.
Galactus are awesome figures because that's what they are. I mean, effectively, they're just oversized 6-inch scale, right? So
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I think they corrected a lot of what people were complaining about with
yeah,
the Sentinel, with Galactus, right?
yeah,
With adding ratcheted joints and stuff. He's solid and he's beautiful. The light up effects are fantastic. He's just,
hmm
I wasn't prepared to be as impressed with him as I was. Other than the sheer size, he's just really impressive.
hmm hmm Hmm.
So what's next for you?
Number
See, I'm going on a
3.
list. It's a little easier for me because I already put it in the thought process.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, my top 10's a little iffy, but my 5 are locked in.
I think my number 3 is gonna be this guy right here. Is it?
What's up, Kev? Really?
hmm
Fair enough.
And it's
Beardy, what's up, buddy?
and it's unexpected that it even made my top 10, and here's why. When they announced the 4-pack, I couldn't justify the price. It didn't make sense to me. It's like 200
Okay.
bucks Canadian for the 4-pack.
Yeah.
And I really wanted Mojo, and I really wanted Longshot, but that Dazzler didn't do anything for me. That cutesy little chibi Wolverine, the X Babies Wolverine, didn't do much for me.
With
And because
yeah,
I
with no
opened everything, the
articulation.
packaging wasn't enough of a sell.
No.
Um, and then out of nowhere, people started posting like, "Oh, by the way, there's a single pack Mojo." And I was like, "Well, well, well. I'm interested." Um,
Yeah.
and then it came up on Hasbro Pulse right when I think at PulseCon. So when they were like releasing other Pulse exclusives, and I was like, okay, well, I'm getting a couple of these, and I'm getting one of these, and I'm getting one of these. I've hit that $30 shipping maximum. So now this is effectively like free to ship. Wasn't sure whether it was going to be available in Canada, and I kick myself now because Mike got it like he was like 3 hours later. He's like, "Is anybody interested in this?" And I was like, "Oh shoot!"
Yeah.
But this, like, as you know, this guy was right up there with sort of my favorite villains in the '90s when I was reading the comic books as a teenager in high school, walking to the comic shop at lunch hour, picking up the Mojo World comics and stuff like that. Like it's such a good representation of
Of
the character. That Toy Biz one was okay.
Yeah,
This
I
one,
had the original Build a Figure in the Build a Figure wave,
not
and
even
you know,
close. Not even close.
I don't have it anymore because I sold all those off
Mhm.
at ridiculous discount prices when I got into Hot Toys. But yeah, now that everything comes full circle, it's ridiculous because now I'm back into like Marvel Legends and GI Joe, and I've kind of fallen off with just the rising prices of everything, and that's the thing where I'm kind of falling off with Hot Toys because I can't justify spending $500 on a figure with a Dio stand anymore.
That was another thing that happened sort of right at this same time is that the leaks that have now kind of all been like confirmed for the blue and yellow
Yeah,
X-Men came out. And I like in all the group chats that I'm in on Facebook, everybody's kind of like, yeah, I'll get this Legends here and I'll get this Legends there. And I hadn't bought any Legends figures in like close to a year. And then when those leaks came out, I was like, I need most of the figures on this list.
yeah,
And this got released, and I was like, well, I mean, if I'm getting all those, I mean, I may as well get Mojo as well. So that's how that ended up in
yeah.
my collection. And now that he's in my collection, I absolutely love him. He's a fantastic figure in hand. And if you're a toy photographer, this guy is super photogenic.
Now, like Kev mentioned, that they are up on GameStop. Troy Collects and Winger posted about them earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe the one that comes with the 4-pack does have better paint than the single release.
I have an opinion on that.
Okay, fair enough.
If you'll indulge me.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
the 4-pack to me seems a lot more like the cartoon accurate colors.
Okay,
And the single one seems to be more like comic book accurate. So
which is what they're going for with that box set. It
yeah, well that's
is
the other thing.
based
Like
on
the
the
deco on
animated
Long
series,
Shot
like
is
the
based
rest
on
of
the
the
cartoon
figures.
as well. So the wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What else is in the box?
Let me just crack this box for Mike open. I just realized
Yeah,
I get this
bearded.
guy in the box.
See, I'm with bearded, man. I already have Dark Phoenix. I didn't pre-order the whole wave. I have Dark Phoenix, Spiral, and I have like the Uncanny X-Men training suit Wolverine pre-ordered. I'm still waiting for those to show up. Yeah, see, dude, I've told you before that was the first figure. The original carded one was the first figure I ever bought with my own real money from Toys R Us. Man, yeah, that's a must for me. But the Dark Phoenix looks fantastic, and what the original 2-pack is going for, you got Like I
Mhm.
think the paint apps on the newer one are much better, and Kev showed that off last night. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, and that one, it's my box got raided by my mom, who took some of these and traded me for money to wrap up for Christmas. I had the Dark
Fair
Phoenix in
enough.
this box a few hours ago, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
But they,
Spiral looks great, man.
as soon as they're like, oh, but I like literally a week before PulseCon in one of the group chats that I'm in. I said, yeah, the only way they're going to get me back into Marvel Legends is if they do the blue and yellow team from Uncanny X-Men 275 and Generation X figures. And that leak
Yeah,
list came out, and I was like, I hope this is all fake.
man,
Because
and
otherwise, I'm in trouble.
Chamber looks crazy, man. Like, and it's like
And people are
Monet looks
dumping on
great.
him.
I know, and it's like that's my generation, man. And it's like I read the comic when it first came out, and I loved the character of Chamber. And it's like, yeah, I'm super hyped for that figure, man. And
Mhm.
that's the thing. Yeah, a lot of people have been dumping on the Generation X figures, but I think they don't understand the context because maybe they didn't read the comic. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're just dummies, and they just don't get it. But yeah, I love Generation X. Like that comic book again. Like that was in my teenage years when I was buying comics with my own
Yeah,
money, and I remember the first few covers of Generation X, that art style, and they were kind of dark and moody and broody, and that's why people don't like them. But it was, to me, it was
it was
like,
our generation, man. That was when alternative rock started, man.
mhm.
Like we were all kind of mopey and listening to Nine Inch Nails and and
in
Pearl Jam,
in
and that was
in a
the
big
era.
way. And I've never heard anybody like say this, but in a big way, I think for me, what Generation X is for me is what New Mutants was to people like in the previous generation, where they couldn't really relate to the X-Men because they were older and they were more established. And then when the New Mutants came out,
Yeah,
they're like, well, this is more in sync with you know my day-to-day life, right? And I
yeah.
absolutely love New Mutants. I have a pretty complete run of New Mutants, and I love that it's a book that, like, and in the same way that Generation, I feel, is it's a book that sort of got out of in a certain sense, got out of the superhero mold and was about the characters. And Marvel's always been really good at that, and especially X-Men, right? Because these are all,
Yeah.
I think what draws me to the X-Men is that these are all outsiders that are just trying to fit in
They're
and
the
trying.
misfits, man. Absolutely, right? Like
As an
yeah, I
introvert, I
agree.
was like, these are my people.
Absolutely, man.
And when they said Monet, I was like, oh, I really hope it's Penance. It wasn't Penance, but I really hope we get Penance.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
and husk and skin and sight
Mm-hmm.
and all of
Yeah.
them. I'll take all of them.
Yeah. So what's your number three?
Did I not do my number three? No, my number three was Mojo.
Okay, then it's my turn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at my list. Okay, this one it might be a reach, but it's not. It came out in 2022. Um, but I picked this guy up. I was really impressed by him. I always wanted one. Like I have the Hot Toys version of RoboCop. I had Ed 209 in the 1/6 scale. Um, but they never released RoboCane. So I kind of jumped into Hiya Toys just because of this.
Just
And
because
I
of that.
also have, yeah, I have RoboCop and the Ed 209 now, the Battle Damage 2 pack, and I have the RoboCop from RoboCop 2 to go with him now.
Mhm.
And he's fantastic, man. Like, he's technically a 6-inch figure, but he's to be in scale with a 3,
Right,
4-inch
right, right.
figure, right? But he's pretty.
He's 6 inches tall because he's 9 feet tall.
Exactly, but he's
Mhm.
fantastic, man. Like the different in paints and battle damage, the articulation. Like he has all these extra arms and stuff from like the
Mhm.
movie that pop out.
And
You
that's from
know,
Haya?
yeah, this is from Hiya Toys, man. And like all the little wiring and stuff on
Mhm.
him, right? That's all like none of the articulation is restricted. Like he has all these like little joints and stuff that move that if you don't pay attention, you wouldn't see it, man. Like even in his abdomen, he has all this wiring fed up into him. Like just
Mhm.
the level of detail on this guy, man, like blew me away. Like his little feet go. Yeah, he's got like pistons and stuff that move. He's fantastic, man. Like I can't gush about this guy more. Like I've had him sitting on my desk just playing with him for months. You
Mhm.
know, like if I'm on stream and I'm unboxing other stuff or between and I'm talking to a guest, I usually am underneath, like just messing with this guy, right, for a long time because he's freaking fantastic, dude.
That's my number one. When my number one comes up, that's the reason that my number one is my number one. But yeah. Yeah, like, it's people are so quick, I think, with especially right now, right? With the flood, with the tsunami, with the avalanche of figures that are sort of hitting us. People are so
Yeah.
quick. This is another thing that I always sort of like rag on people about. People are like, "Oh, I can't get the next figure," and I'm like, "Dude, like with classified, people are like, "Oh, I can't get the new bazooka. I can't find it at Toys R Us," and I'm like, "Dude, you got 50 GI Joe classified figures in 2 years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get it. Chill out.
Yep.
Like, look at your shelf. When you get really bummed out about the fact that you can't get the next one, look at your shelf and realize how
Go
much
pull one
cool
of the
stuff
ones
you
off your
got.
shelf. Yeah, pull one off the shelf and mess with it. Right?
You'll that thought of like, I need the next one disappears when you get any of them in your hand, right?
Yep.
I think we're all, a lot of us, very guilty, and I'm guilty of this too a lot of times, right? Where, and this is even true with my number one, where like, I, you get something that you really love and you want more of it, and so I think maybe that's
Yep.
part of it for me at least. Um, I don't really get FOMO in the way that I see it happen among a lot of my collector friends. Um, but I get a thing where like I can't buy one of something. Like I have a very hard time. The only thing that I can think of that I sort of have one of, I got the Super 7 Ultimates Lion-O, and I had that
Okay.
for almost a year before I got the Ever Living Mumra. And now that I have the Ever Living Mumra, I'm like, well, maybe one more. Like, and then if I get, but I know that it's a slippery slope. As soon as I get one more of the Thundercats, or I get one more of like the mutants, I'll be like, but now it's imbalanced, and then it'll just be this escalating thing. I don't get like somebody that's like, when you show me that RoboCop, I'm like, that's a really cool figure.
Yep.
It's not RoboCop. When you show me that RoboCop figure,
Yeah, RoboCane. But yeah, no, absolutely.
um, it looks fantastic, And I'm like, oh, I could get into that line for sure. Like all the Joy Toy stuff. I know that Kevin was getting into that Joy Toy stuff. He was getting enabled real bad in
Because
that
Mario
enablers.
posted them, man, in the Discord channel, and they're gorgeous, man. Like what they're doing with 3 3/4 is nothing like we had
They're
for GI Joe, even in
amazing.
the 25th anniversary. Like they blow them away, man.
But as soon as you get one, you're done. You're getting 10, 12, 30 of them, or at least I would be. That's how I work. That's how my shelves work, and so by
Get out of
extension,
here.
that's
Good Lord.
that bell keeps ringing, and I keep forgetting that it's on your hat.
I know.
But I enable
Incredible.
myself because as soon as I start down the path of a line, I'm a freight train, and my wife teases me all the time because she's like, "You didn't get a new line," and I'm like, "I only got one," and she's like, "Today."
That's where it starts, man.
Mm. Omar,
No,
so
I
you brought that comment up, and I want to sort of echo that. Omar said, "I think people start to think that they can only have fun with a figure when it's the newest thing out,"
yeah,
which is sad because like my kids. So this is I'm so thankful that my kids were sort of my gateway back into toys
mm,
because I can appreciate my toys more kind of through their eyes. And if I buy something and they're like, "Meh," then I'm like, "Yeah, I think you're right." And if they're like super pumped on it, then it's a good toy. And I've said this before and
yeah,
I'll say it again and I'll say it forever because it helps me sort of stay in the right mind space as somebody that buys toys. I don't feel as though I'm a collector. I feel that I'm somebody that buys a lot of toys. Toys are meant to be played with. They're meant to be opened, taken out of the box, played with,
yeah,
shared with other people. They're meant to be like interactive. They're meant to inspire, imaginative play and so on and so forth. And so like I wouldn't be satisfied with one turtle, right? You have to have all four. And if you have all four, you have to have a shredder, you have to have Splinter. If you have GI Joes, you can't just have Duke and Snake Eyes. You have to have Cobra Commander, and you have to have Storm Shadow or whatever, right? So for
yeah,
me it was always like I wanted, if I get into a line, it's because I love the IP or I love the line, and I want to build out that world, and I want to sort of play out, within that sandbox, if you will. So, my number, what are we on? Two?
two.
My list. We'll have to come back to the honorable mentions because now there's stuff on here that I'm not going to be able to show in my list, um, because it was in my list and then it got bumped when we made a bit of a course correction.
No,
But my
fair
number
enough.
two, and so my Troop Builders was meant to be an honorable mention because this
Mhm.
was always going to be in my top three. Spirit Iron Knife from the GI Joe Classified line. This thing is awesome.
It's
It's
amazing, dude.
and for me, it's a
It,
perfect balance of the vintage with just enough of an update that it feels
yeah,
modern. And what I mean by that is there's less inherent racism in this figure than there was in the original.
absolutely.
And we get the two sets of wings for freedom, which is great because
Yeah,
you can pose them, with the wings out. He can fly around, or you can put the wings on there, and he can sit much better on this backpack as he is now. He sits sideways if I sort of let him go.
yeah,
I have to correct the backpack every time. Um, but this is just it's a phenomenal figure, great sculpt, great deco. Like I said, great articulation. I have literally zero complaints about this figure. And he was always one of my favorite figures in the vintage, and he was always one of my favorite characters in the cartoon, the
yeah.
Sunbow cartoon. Um, Again,
He's
I
he's he's in my top 10, and he is my favorite classified figure that came out this year. We've had a lot of good figure like some. I see people throwing Serpentor out there, and Serpentor's great. Don't get me wrong, man, but Spirit hit it for me right out the package. Everything about him was perfection, man. He's just the color scheme, everything was great.
Serpentor was never and remains a character that I just don't love. I don't have an affinity for. Same with Sergeant
Yeah,
Slaughter. They just didn't land for me as a kid, and they still don't do it for me as a 40-year-old man. um, it's an absolutely amazing figure, and I love what they're sort of doing with the articulation scheme in some of the last couple releases. And the air chariot is awesome. Um,
oh yeah, it's
it's
fantastic.
huge. It's on another shelf because it doesn't fit on that shelf. It has to go on my Mythic Legion's like oversized shelf with the other horses and the troll. That's the only place that it fits. Um, and it's awesome, and it's great. Anybody that picks Serpentor as their classified figure of the year, I totally understand where they're coming from.
Yep.
It's objectively a very good figure. Subjectively, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Omar,
Omar on that, absolutely, man. Like I'm sitting here, I've been like this whole stream, I've been sitting here messing with Timber.
I know I
This
got
white version, this white version of Timber is great. The figure, it's like the sixth. I've mentioned it at the beginning of the stream before you jumped on. It's like the sixth or seventh repaint we have of Snake Eyes, and most of the weapons he comes with are the Alley Viper weapons. I was just like, I didn't need that, but this is beautiful, man, and it's the original, right?
give me all the versions of Snake Eyes that they want to do. Snake Eyes was always my favorite character. I've got there's like 68 versions of O-Ring up to like modern, like that they released in like the 3 3/4 inch in the 4-inch scale. Um, and I'm kind of slowly, quietly behind the scenes picking up versions of Snake Eyes. I
Yeah,
think I'm up to like 30, mid 30s or something like that of the like 68. I think there's 68. Um, but then I've got, a couple of the Funkos, and I've got all the classified versions, and like I just love that character. I love the figure. I do a thing. So my Black Series collection is Mandalorian and Mandalorian related. So they have to
yeah,
basically appear in Mandalorian, or they have to be
sure.
Luke Skywalker. So I've got a whole bunch of versions of Luke Skywalker, and that sort of gives me that appeases my sort of Star Wars fandom. Snake Eyes is the same. I'll take all the versions of Snake Eyes. And Omar mentioned Fortnite is my favorite one. That deco is phenomenal, and people.
Okay, I mix and matched the deco from Fortnite with the
Mhm,
original one.
mhm.
So I mix and match pieces because I do like the paint app on it and like some of like the metal
He's the
paint that
only
they
one with
use
the
on it.
logo.
Yeah, and he's like, and that's I took some of the accessories and mixed them up to kind of make like the
Those
ultimate
accessories
version of
suck. Those
them.
Fortnite accessories suck. The
Oh,
figure
they
is
they're
phenomenal.
garbage. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
It's weird
And I
that they made the like these two holsters. Those weapons don't come out. That's like the weird oversight to me. Like, why would you do that? But
put my OG. I put the first release Snake
I
Eyes.
had spare ones from a
Mine.
fodder Snake Eyes, and I did the exact same thing. I just swapped those out,
Yeah.
and I love that figure. I think I did an unboxing slash review of that, and I was gushing over that figure.
The
I
visor has the best color for the visor. It's yeah, it's
Well,
beautiful.
00 has the best color for visor, but that's a very close second.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The silver visor on the 00 Hasbro Pulse exclusive, that initial release, that one's still now, and I suspect may forever be my favorite of the classified releases.
Okay.
Partly it has an unfair advantage because it came in that box, and it was the first one that we got in hand, and it was
Mhm.
like like the
This is
floodgate.
what it could be. This is what it could be, right? And
Mhm,
that's the anticipation, like forever. You know what I mean? Like since I
mhm.
got back into collecting figures as an adult, all I wanted was a 6-inch version of GI Joe, and they teased it, man, for years, and it was to the point where it was never going to happen, or
Mhm.
I felt like it was never going to happen, and then they released the 00 Snake Eyes, and I was just like, okay, like
Well,
I'm in.
it kind of felt like one of those things where like the rumors were just like something that we'd all heard. Like the rumors were almost like old news, where I think
Yeah,
people were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, they'll do it." But then they're like, "Oh, no, we are doing it. Here's Double O Snake Eyes, Pulse exclusive." And stay tuned for Toy Fair 2020 and you're going to get wave 1. And I was like, "No." Cuz you know, a lot of the Marvel Legends that are on these shelves, I'd already gotten at that point.
yeah,
Like and so you know, I had seen what you can do at a 6-inch scale that I still feel you can't do at a 3 3/4 or 4-inch scale. I think the
absolutely.
articulation schemes and the decos and some of the sculpting. Now I know with 3D sculpting now you can kind of you can sculpt digitally and then kind of make that work in a
Yeah,
4-inch figure. Um, but you're never going to get the articulation schemes. It's just not going to happen. So the 6-inch scale to me, um, I'm now I feel effectively like a 6-inch scaled human in like from the reverse angle. I'm now that much taller than I was when I was playing with a 4-inch figure, and so it
yeah.
makes sense.
Okay, that I like the math there. That works for
It
me.
doesn't.
My hands are much bigger
Yeah,
now than they were when I was 10 years old.
6-inch scale doesn't seem bigger than 4-inch did when I was 12 years old. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Yeah,
there's a correlation between my proportionate size and the figure's proportionate size. And so
absolutely.
I get all the people that are like, I will be a vintage fan until I die, and I only want 3 3/4 inch over figures. I get that. I get that completely. I am I want the update. I want the articulation scheme. I want the accessories. I want to be able to put the knives in the sheaths and the guns in the holsters and attach their
Absolutely,
accessories to their
man.
backs and take their helmets off and sub it for goggles and put a hood and a hat and like
Dude,
that
and that's
the
what they
Master of
do.
Disguise Zartan with all that stuff, the mask, that skull mask from the comic book cover. Oh, it looks so good. You could never do that in a three and three
They
quarter inch
do
figure.
it so well though, man. Like even
Mhm.
with Bazooka here, like he's got little like
Yeah,
hooks
it
on
just
his
clips on.
backpack so he can carry his bazooka, man. Like, and then the only thing is, I wish he came with like a sidearm or something. But other than that, man, he's and the helmet fits
Mhm.
nicely. Like after having Dusty, his helmet's a hot mess, man. It's his head's too small, the helmet's too big, it doesn't fit on it properly. I like the sculpting on Dusty's head. Like I think it's great. I know some people are complaining that it was too close to Duke, but if you look closer, it's not. The nose is different, the hairstyle's different. It's a different face sculpt. I guess similarities, if you want to, two white guys together kind of look the
White people
same,
all
you know
look
what
the
I
same.
mean? But yeah, but no, they're very different.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna pull it out, but it's also in that box. And I was staring at it earlier because that was the same. I was like, I gotta see his face. I gotta see what this head sculpt looks like. It doesn't look like Duke to me, but
No,
I don't know. Maybe I'm
in the
um
eye of the beholder, I guess,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Right?
What's your number two?
All right. Well, it's like with you, it's a bit of a cheat because there's two of them, but
I had three, so I feel like
I
two is pretty
I don't
reasonable.
think you can have one without the other because they correlate so fantastic together,
To be fair,
man.
that's topped
They're
and topless of the same figure. If we're like,
yes,
come on, yeah, I'm there with you. I'm right there with you.
but man, like the accessories that they come with are different enough. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's just like the like this is one of the hot toy, like not hot, one of the NECAs I have where I wasn't worried about breaking anything. I think they really started nailing it with like Goliath from other than his wings, that ratchet
Right.
joint's a little weak, but where they're actually, with the paint and the details and just, the posability all kind of lining up and not being scared. Like I have a ridiculous amount of NECA figures and I haven't broke any, thank God. But I'm like, these are the ones I'm least scared of breaking, man. Like right out the box, I was like posing him up and you know, like he's just, it wasn't he's gorgeous, man. And he just like he looks great. His accessories are fantastic. This doesn't, I used some clear elastics to attach the bandanas to it and they're all there, so it's not a spoiler. But the two of these, yeah, like this is my number two. This was probably going to be my number one before my number one took the number one spot. But yeah, these were the ones that I was most impressed with this year. Just right out the package, man. Like I couldn't keep my hands off him. The accessories are all great. They really like together. They're just fantastic. They
Hmm.
really complement each other, and I
Yeah.
think they're
Yeah.
yeah, just beautiful figures, man. And then I read like leading up to getting these, I ordered the hardback on
Hmm.
Amazon and read that, and the story's fantastic, man. It's really well done.
So you ordered the figures and then read the comic book.
I already had the comic here,
Okay.
but yeah, I was reading it as these guys were in transit because I got them from AliExpress, right? So sometimes they take a little longer. They still got here before
But you
anybody else had
pre-ordered the
them.
figures before you'd read the book.
I bought them off AliExpress.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went the other way. So I had heard how great Last Ronin was. I didn't read the like single issues, but I heard how great it was. So I decided that I was going to pick it up.
Yeah,
And Mike from Me Collectibles, who I chat with all the time, is like a massive Turtles guy, and he's And then that Mecha Leo came up, and he was like, "Have you seen this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have." And as I said, like I'm a big like Gundam fan. They didn't make it in my top five, um, but if it was a
but
top five model kits, they would have been 1 through 5. Um, but that Mecha Leo, that was the thing where I was like, well, I feel like I've held out on Ninja Turtles for a long time. I absolutely love that Mecha Leo. I've heard that Last Ronin's pretty good. Maybe I'll give that a check, see what it's like, because I'm doing comic books as well. So
yeah,
one 5 issue book. I can dip my toe in there. It's so good. It's such a
it's
good
really good,
story.
man.
It inspired me to sort of go back and take a look at the original cartoon. Um, the original figures keep getting re-released, and now that I'm sort of like back into Turtles, um, it's funny because people are like, "Oh, they're." I wish Playmates would stop re-releasing these, and I'm sitting here like,
Give me
I'm very
more.
thankful that they keep re-releasing them because I'm able to pick them up for the first
Yeah,
time in a long time. Um, and I'm gonna get that Mecha Leo, and then I got into the Super 7 ones. The NECA Turtles. I got the Turtles in Disguise 4 pack. I was like, I may as well just get all 4 of them in one shot. Omar, IDW is expanding on that storyline. It's over there.
yeah,
Um, the
yeah.
the Last Ronin Lost Years. I was like halfway. I wasn't even halfway through the the Last Ronin like hardcover when I went to the comic book store and I was like, "Can you put me down for Lost Years? Like I'm all in." And then I went back and I was like, "Okay, how far back can I get the IDW run?" Now I'm reading Armageddon Game. It's phenomenal. I'm
Dude, the IDW run is fantastic,
so
man. Like
good.
I love it, man. Like I've been in beginning. It's fantastic. It's kind of like I don't know, the perfect mesh of like modern and like the old school. It's almost like a retelling of it. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just I don't know, like they bring in Fugitoid, and you get the Utroms, and it's just I don't know, man. I love it. I love the character dynamic between the characters. I think it's
Mhm.
fantastic, man. I do. It's and I'm really looking forward to the Lost Years because it's the Nicholas Ray figures
Sam
are so
Rock there
cool.
said Neck Last Ronin figure is so cool. Can't wait to get it when it eventually shows up in Canada. Well, that was what I was getting at. I read the book and then I got back into Turtles, and now I want those figures as well. I didn't pre-order them. I don't have them. But Sam
What's up,
Rock,
Will?
you're in the comments over there. Where are you? You're over there. It's all mirrored. Whatever. Um, reach out to Mike at E Collectibles because I know that he hasn't gotten his yet. They're still on the way. I got my order in like a week and a half ago. I was like, oh man, I think I need to get those. I talked to you, Aaron, about those turtles, and you're like, yeah, they're sturdy. Because I'd always heard that NECA was like there were so many QC issues. But then I kept watching the reviews of those figures, and they sound like they're pretty sturdy and they'll hold up to a little bit of play and some posing. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I just love I love when so I'm still into the IDW GI Joe comic as well, which is just finished with the issue 300. And I love that
yep,
Larry Hama's still doing it, but it still feels like it did way back then, you know? The IDW Ninja Turtles feels like it's grown up with its audience. Um,
yeah,
it,
absolutely. I feel like it. Yeah,
and
I
and
couldn't agree
I
more.
feel bad that I didn't grow up with it. Now I'm going back. I'm getting the like those collected editions of the IDW ones, and they're so good. They're so good. So yeah, I gotta get those. I gotta get those NECA Last Ronin turtles for sure. Um,
You won't be disappointed, man. Like
no, and
yeah,
I was hoping to see a review that would tell me otherwise. I was hoping to see a review that was like, you shouldn't get these," but every review was like, "These are a must buy."
and that leads me to another point. I had a friend message me last night, and he asked me, "Do reviewers ever give bad reviews?" And
Yeah,
I don't know. Like for me personally, I tend to only review stuff that I only buy stuff that I want.
right.
So, if I am disappointed, I try to be as honest as possible about it. But for
Yeah,
the most part, it's hard to give that opinion
yeah.
because I was it's already something I want or wanted.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So once I get that in hand, like that excitement's there, and it just kind of made me think. It's like, being able to be a reviewer and kind of give an honest opinion and you're buying your own stuff. Can you give, you know what
Are
I
we on
mean?
to
Like,
number 1?
yes, we are on to
This
number
will be
one.
relevant. This is a relevant question. Are we on to number 1?
Okay. Yes.
Omar makes a
We're
good
on
point. You've never seen Anthony's
yeah.
Customs. He's pretty objective.
He is. Fair enough.
Okay, hold on. Let me just repose this figure because he was posed in a specific way because he was standing next to another character. Hold on. I don't want to break him as I'm reposing him. So he's standing in a really weird way because he was standing like in like a defensive position versus another. My number one figure of the year is the Super
Drum
7
roll.
Ultimates TMNT Raphael. You know where I'm going with this because you're talking about figures that get bad reviews.
Yeah.
I
And I'm
absolutely
very
love.
objective about it. I'm not. I have my own opinion. Yeah.
And fair enough. The Super Sevens, they have some QC issues. Some of them have loose hips. Mine's pretty good. The legs don't flop or do anything that I don't want them to.
Yeah.
This has been on my desk for 3 months. Um, he hasn't left my desk. I feel like every day I can put him in a new pose, change it up, flip the size so that he's holding them different, do something different.
Yeah.
Get him in a sort of a scene like a pose off with Shredder. Um, Samrock, Raphael's not my favorite turtle, but I know that my favorite turtle was released in 2021, so he didn't make the cut.
See, and that's Raph
Also,
is
I have
my favorite.
nitpicks about my
I'm
favorite
with
turtle.
Sam. Who
What's
who is your
that?
favorite turtle? I said I'm with Sam. Raph is my favorite. Always has been.
I love I mean I love them all. That's the thing. When people are like, "Oh, this is my favorite." I'm like, "You really have a favorite? Like there's really a turtle that's your least favorite by extension?" I don't have a
I
least
think
favorite.
I think Raph's the one that I relate to the most.
You're kind of a sarcastic asshole.
I can be, yes. Yeah, yeah. But not only that, but kind of brooding and deep thinking, and you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
there's
no,
other
yeah,
aspects
yeah,
of
yeah.
just
No,
being
I
a
think it's
sarcastic
but
asshole.
I think it's interesting because like in different so like in different versions, right? They're different. Like if you're referencing the movies, I feel like their personalities are a little bit different than, the original cartoon. And
Yeah,
and I've got kids and I was like, okay, what's the easiest way to switch them onto Turtles? And Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is on Netflix and it's a ton of fun. I've now found out that people don't like that cartoon, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people that you don't enjoy fun? Because that cartoon is really good, and if you haven't watched it because you think you don't like it, give it a shot. And what I would suggest is skip to the last 4 episodes of season 2, which is the end of the series. Watch those 4, and if you really don't like those 4, don't go back and watch the other ones. But if you do, and I suspect you might, go back and watch the rest of them because they're just a ton of fun. It's a different vibe. It's a different look. The turtles have slightly different personalities. The writers have written them a little bit different, and that's fair. They're a little bit different in the Mirage comics than they were in the IDW comics.
yeah.
They evolve. They are. I don't like this idea that there's a version of a fake character that is like the right one. I like
But
that there's different
I
options.
think it's definitive for the person of choice. And again, it's all perspective, right? It's
Yes,
whatever you choose personally to be your definitive character. Like my definitive character is the Mark Hamill Joker, but that's
yes,
not everybody's definitive, and that's okay. That's an opinion, and that's
yeah.
yours, and that's your perspective.
Hmm. But anyway, back to me and my
Yeah,
opinion.
fair enough.
When I watched all the reviews, because I don't read reviews, it's 2022. I watch reviews now. When I watched all the reviews, the Super 7 Ultimates get mixed reviews because the articulation isn't. Here's an honorable mention. The articulation in this guy is not the articulation in this guy. This has phenomenal articulation. This is decent for what it is. But there's something about this. There's an intangible with these Super 7 turtles that they just check all the boxes for me. Um, my list got changed when we allowed him to be in it. This is
Yeah,
one where this was the curveball. This is one where this gets a lot of really bad reviews, and there's a specific issue that this figure has that I can totally understand. And there was some things that people complain about, but Super 7 TMNT Ultimate Krang is a ton of fun. Change my mind.
and I can't, man, because it's
He
your
can't
opinion.
stand
And
up. He cannot
I
stand up.
don't have him in hand. I couldn't change your mind anyways. I don't have an opinion on it. I think it's a great representation of the toy that we had when we were kids.
Hmm.
And that's how I feel about the turtles. That's why I only have the 4 turtles.
And you
Because
get the
they,
alternate, which is like even more fun than the vintage one was.
oh,
And
he's, yeah.
when my 7-year-old picked this up, she was like, "This is awesome," and I was like, "You're right, it is."
So I guess it's mine to do my number one. Bit of cheat, but I showed it earlier, and it's these guys, man. It really is. Like, I don't think I was as impressed this year with anything that I purchased as I was with this set. The instruments, the
Hmm.
articulation, the like Mezco's finally nailing the soft goods clothes where
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I went in at the beginning of the line and got out because they all look like stubby. You know what I mean? Like the clothing, the material they used wasn't right. Like it just like it didn't look like a miniature person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they almost they looked weird. Like my Captain America, he looked like I don't know. He looked short and stocky. He didn't look
Yeah.
big and you know. And they're really starting to nail whatever the materials are that they're using. Like the stitching is on point, the zippers, like the jaws on all the skulls move. They have like the
Hmm.
lit cigarettes. There's many of them. Um, like they have hands that can hold the guitar that looks like he's playing it. Like even down to the shoes, like they look like Converse, man,
Yeah.
but they have like the Mezco symbol on them instead of the Converse symbol. And like the jackets and like they come with leather jackets. They come with another set of like undershirts. They come, for the lead singer, he has like a t-shirt with a lightning bolt on it. Comes with microphones, like 3 different head sculpts per character. They come with different helmets, then a Jason mask, different hats. Like I can't ooze enough about these guys, man. Like I they're like I think they're the perfect action figure, man. I just
Hmm.
do. With the amount of like when you open it up, man, like the package, like I was and I've had discussions with other people. It was overwhelming. Like I have the box next to me because it has so much shit in it, man. Like beer cans, they have like accessories that pop into the beer cans that look like the beer cans like fizzing up, and it milk crates, instruments, microphones.
Hmm.
It's just like it's almost overwhelming. And again, like we talked about hands earlier, the amount of hands, like they come with like 20 fucking hands each, right? um they have glasses that fit on the skulls, man. They have chains, like they're just, yeah, like look at this guitar, man. Like it's gorgeous, man. Like there's nothing I can find to complain about with these
Yeah.
figures other than just the sheer amount of stuff that they come with. And it's not it the box is beautiful that it comes in. It comes with like records, like actual records that you can play on your record player of like
Hmm.
3 songs. It also comes with a digital release of those. It comes with a print. Like it's, man, like when I opened this setup, I was not prepared, man. And I've said it in groups, I've said it in, in chats, I've said it on my Instagram when I posted pictures of them. Like I was not prepared for what that set entailed. And I think it's just the perfect marrying of like soft goods and articulation. And I think Mezco's really there now. I know a lot of people are pissed off right now because of, like their DC properties and stuff. Figures not getting released enough. But I think their first party figures, man, are where it's fucking at, dude. Like that's their bread and butter. They're pumping them out. They're I think they're different enough, and just I don't know, man. Like I think their own in-house stuff is hitting on all cylinders, man, and I think they're fantastic. Like I can't gush enough about it. And yeah, like Omar said, he agrees coming around to them more and more. Yeah, because when I first got into them, I was almost looking at a replacement for Hot Toys, where it had the accessories and the soft goods and the swappable hands and head sculpts and, everything that I loved about Hot Toys, but for less of a price. But when they first came out, they weren't there, man. They
Mm.
weren't there. They didn't look right, where
I know what
now
you
I
mean.
think
Yeah.
now they're finally at the point where they do. They got clothing, stitching, they got everything just on this set speaks for itself, man.
Mhm.
I think it's perfection. I can't think of anything else that I got this year that I love as much as this.
I got to step away for just a minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's be weird. They'll come back, man. Yeah, the Theodore sod cutter people are getting right now looks nuts. It does, man. Like I'm really impressed with it. I think Trevor was opened one up on Toying Around last night, and yeah, it was fantastic, man. I think Constantine looks great. I think the Pro that they just is coming out, man, looks fantastic. Um, Man, I really hope people get what they want. I hope people get the '89 Batman. There's so much tension about it right now because people have been waiting, and I get it. 3 years is a long to wait for a figure that you paid for. But I've had hot toys that have come out that I've waited 2+ years to get my hands on. I pre-ordered as soon as they came out, and like recent examples of that are Gamora and like the Loki from Endgame was announced over like 2.5 years ago, and it's just starting to hit Hong Kong. There's always examples that you can stick with and be mad about that one figure that hasn't come out in 3 years, but the amount of shit that they're pumping out is still phenomenal, man. Like they're announcing figures and they're in stock, ready to order. You know what I mean? And that's what I want. You know what I mean? I don't want to sit on a pre-order for 3 years. So maybe they're learning from mistakes. Eventually, we'll see the '89, man. We will. It'll be there. We'll get it at some point.
And
Henry
who?
Cavill got fired before Mezco could drop the Snyder pack. Man, I I feel, and I don't know how you feel about it, Adam, but with all like, I assume you've been reading a lot of what's been going on in media and stuff with the DC universe. I personally think it needed a fresh start, man. It's been a mess for a long time. We have gotten a few good things, but it's few and far between. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like the stuff that James Gunn did is fantastic. I loved his reiteration of Suicide Squad, and I
Mhm.
think Peacemaker is probably one of the best things that came out on any streaming service this year. I think it's a fantastic show. It's dark, it's funny, the action is insane, it's very self-aware. John Cena is fucking gold in it, man. And I was not disappointed when they announced that James Gunn and is it Paul Saffron or Saffron? I don't know who he is, but the fact that James Gunn's name on that, I'm good. And it needs a new start. And, just with him posting what he is about, starting off with the earlier years of Superman, it was, there was a lot going on at the time with, Black Adam. And now there's stuff coming out that The Rock was, falsely putting out the numbers that it made to make it sound like it was a success. It's a lot of this stuff starting to come out, and it sounded like them throwing Henry in and telling him to announce that he's Superman only for WB to sign on a whole new head of their company, like production. Like their new Kevin Feige now is James Gunn and this Mr. Saffron, and they're like, I'm excited again because I've always like, it's kind of crazy because growing up I was more a DC kid than I was a Marvel kid.
Mhm.
Like I love Marvel, I love Spider-Man. There's aspects of Marvel I always loved, but I always weighed more towards Batman growing up, personally. And like his rogue gallery and just the DC universe. And I don't think other, then I think Chris Nolan did a fantastic job. I think those are great, and I do
Mhm.
love Matt Reeves' Batman. I think it's fucking spot on. The relationship between him and Catwoman is perfect. It's what it was in the comic. I think Zoe Kravitz is perfect. I think she's a great Selena Kyle.
Mhm.
Um, but that's like, it needs something to reinvigorate it, man. It needs to be, and I don't think it needs to be what the MCU is now, because I think even the
Yeah.
MCU is so big now it's gotten away from itself. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm of a couple different minds because I think what the MCU has created is in some ways like a one-off. Like it's seen as like the gold standard, but I'm sort of like, but why? I mean, like, why can't we have as somebody that reads the comics, and I was talking about like the versions of the Ninja Turtles, right? Like,
yeah,
there's different versions of the Ninja Turtles, and I'm okay with that. I encourage that because if one version doesn't land for you, maybe another version does. And that's kind of how I feel about DC, right? Like, I love the Christopher Nolan Batman. I love the Matt Reeves the Batman.
hmm
I wasn't off put by Batfleck. Um, and those can all exist to me as versions of Batman because I don't need Batman to be like a monolithic thing in the same way that I it's weird to me because I loved Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he's fantastic. Man of Steel
yeah.
was to me, um, I felt that
The
was
best
my
Superman
favorite.
movie.
Well, I shouldn't say I felt that that was. I feel that that is the best Superman to me.
Yep.
Um, but even in saying that, I concede that like that in some ways is like disrespectful to the people that are like, but Christopher Reeves is Superman, you know?
He's
He's
legendary, man.
legendary. He did such a good job with it. Um like I've seen like analysis of like how he played Clark Kent and Superman, and it's phenomenal. Like, he
Yep.
changed his body to be Clark Kent, and then when he
His
was Superman, it was
mannerisms,
a different
everything, man. Yeah.
physical presence, like,
It
and
wasn't
stuff like
just a
that is.
pair of glasses, man. That it was
Mhm.
everything, right? It was his performance.
But I think they can both be Superman, and I don't
Yep.
think, like, I think there's a lot of people that are sort of hitting that panic button and kind of thinking like, well, but these versions are great. If we start over, it's the end of the world, and it's sort of like, no, it's Elseworlds, or it's Other Worlds, or it's Flashpoint, or it's whatever. Like,
Why do you have to stick a label to it?
that's, I mean,
Good is good.
comic books reboot all the time.
Yep.
And if the MCU didn't exist, DC films, and I would say the Star Wars universe would be better for it because people wouldn't be so judgmental about like it all has to be in the same universe. It all has to work. It all has to be canon.
Yep.
But to your point of like, the MCU has kind of lost itself. I kind of like that Kevin Feige's moved away from everything has to all be the same. Like, I think phase 1 and phase 2 were great because they were very contained.
Yeah.
I like that we've got She-Hulk. I really enjoyed that show. Werewolf by Night was a lot of fun.
Still is
Um,
fantastic, man.
I think I think they've now in some way earned the right to experiment with different genres
Yep.
and with sort of different stuff. Hawkeye was like felt like a buddy
Hawkeye's
cop.
fantastic, man. I think it's one of the best shows they put out, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. I love Florence Pugh, man. I adore
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
She was the best thing about Black Widow, man. I loved her in Midsummer. I she's oh, I could drink her in for hours. It's just her, like, her presence, and just, I don't know. She's great. she's great, and I think Haley Steinfeld was great in it too, man.
Mhm.
Right?
They
And
were a really good balance too. Like those
yeah,
characters were a really good balance.
absolutely.
Sam Rock mentions Brandon Routh. Routh. I thought he was really
Wow.
good too. I
Yeah, I
know
do too.
I know some people that
I
work
love
in the
Kevin
film industry
Spacey
in
as Lex
Vancouver,
Luthor,
and I kind of understand why he only made one. But anyway,
and I loved Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. I did. I really, but I love Kevin Spacey, man. Regardless, like the stuff that's coming out about him, that's another story, and how a lot of it seems, kind of not true, but that's a different
Kevin
subject
Spacey is
altogether.
related to why Brandon Routh only made one Superman.
No, fair enough. That's fair. So Omar says, yeah, um, they had to blow the whole thing up. I agree.
I think
Um,
so. I think it was an all or
nope.
nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Disney live action movies might not be great, but almost all the DC animated movies are amazing. I agree. I think probably 85-90% of them are great. I still think there's a few duds in there, but I think for the most part, the animated ones, like animated Red Hood, is like
Mhm.
almost a perfect retelling of the comic. It's fantastic. I love Jensen Ackles as like Red Hood, Jason Todd, but I love Supernatural. So when I saw him show up, even in this season of The Boys, it was he was great, and he was a drunk asshole, and it was I don't know.
You know what? You know what my only complaint about the DC animated movies is that so many of them look exactly the same.
Yeah, but I think that's the look they're going for. They're going for that aesthetic, right?
And I don't love it. The Batman versus the Ninja Turtles one I liked because the animation was a little bit different.
A
That
little bit
samurai
different.
Batman I thought was really, really cool because it was a different take.
I like the samurai Batman, man, but I kind of I love anime in general, so
Yeah.
it's I like the mixture of both.
To me I kind of feel like it's a bit of like a I just feel like it's a little bit lazy because I feel like all of it kind of looks like the Batman animated series. And I love
But when
Batman
it
animated
works,
series. I hold that in such high esteem that I kind of feel like it's a cop out to just try to like mimic that look.
I
I want to see
agree.
original designs. I want to see
Yeah,
different styles.
no, and that's fair. I think that's a fair opinion about it. Um,
But I
I
agree they're great. I mean, they're written
I
well
think
and they're done well.
I think the acting's done well, and that's the thing. The multiple actors that have played Superman,
Mhm,
Batman, all the characters, right? I think they still do a nice job, and
mhm,
it doesn't have to definitively be that same voice actor across the board to get the storytelling done. I think they can kind of get away with it more in animated context, I guess,
mhm.
because you don't have a face put to that character per se, I guess.
Mhm.
Superman Apocalypse is one of my favorite DC animated movies. I like it. I also really like the run of comics, and I thought they did a really good job of meshing the two. And I think DC wants those MCU box office numbers more than anything.
That
Absolutely, man.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
That,
I think that's a big thing is that and again, I think MCU has kind of, hit a vein, and I think they got lucky on some level. Um,
yeah,
I think a lot of things came together in a way that worked out really well for them. Um, do I think it's something that can be replicated? I don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
know if it can, man. Like
It
I like
never had before, so I don't
no,
know if it ever can again.
like for example, me going to see the first Man opening weekend. I went. I love comics, right? But Iron Man, I never loved. To me, he was always a second or third tier character. I didn't give two shits about him. I went to go see it because Robert Downey Jr.'s in it, and he's one of my favorite actors of all time. He is like, and that was the reason I went to go see that movie, and was pleasantly surprised. It was fucking fantastic, right? I mean, does it hold up now to the rest? Some of the CG is a little iffy, but I still think it's a good
It's
film in
still pretty
general.
good. I
I
wonder
think we, I think. yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was perfect as Tony Stark, man. I don't think they could have picked a better person for him.
No, well, and that's the thing. That's part of that perfect formula, right? Like I think
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. In some ways is Tony Stark, right? Like
Right?
huge ego, fall from grace, has to build himself
Yeah.
back up. Chris Evans, I think is that all-American, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, um, and I'm not the only person that noticed this. I haven't. This is not sort of my idea, but the way that they evolved Captain America over, his trilogy,
Yeah.
and even further, right, with the Avengers movie as well.
Yeah.
Um, he went from the skinny nerd, and then he got fall on the grenade to protect everybody else. Then he pumps up, and he's Captain America, but he still has that in him, and he goes from like telling Tony to watch his mouth to being pretty raw by the time Endgame comes around.
Yeah.
He's been exposed to the world. Like they just did such a good job developing those characters. Those actors did
Absolutely.
such a good job of selling us the idea that these characters were evolving and growing. Um,
But they
and
made the MCU made Chris Evans and Captain America one of my favorite characters now.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I
I
have statues, I have hot toys, I have a shelf full of Marvel Legends figures, like of just Captain America. I love Chris Evans as Captain America.
well, and the
I
thing
think
is, they did it with um, now if you want, this is
this is gonna go all night, boys.
it's not gonna. You're not gonna be able to see it. I have in my phone my list. I've rated all the MCU movies. I spent like a week and watched all of them and rated
Yeah.
them out of 10 and ranked them like my favorite to my least favorite. Spoiler alert: Thor 2 is the worst movie in the MCU. Um, did I have it as the worst, or did I have Incredible Hulk as the worst? I can't remember now.
Really?
Um,
I don't hate Incredible Hulk, but I liked Edward Norton.
I liked Edward Norton. I felt like that movie just was not. It was just. It was. That one was the worst. Thor 2 was the second worst, um, but I didn't think Iron Man 2 was very good either. So
No, a lot of people don't, but I like Iron Man 3, man. But I love Shane Black. So like Kiss Kiss Bang
Iron Man
Bang.
3 I thought was okay according to this list.
I'll take it. But
um,
like I said, I love Shane Black, man. Like one of
yeah.
my favorite movies, like in my top 5, is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and that's again another Robert Downey Jr. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer at his best, man. Like it's a fantastic flick, and yeah,
I've got the third Captain America as my favorite, and
the
and
third
before
Civil
and before
War.
there was a Captain America movie, that was not a character that I cared about.
Civil War is your favorite one? Hmm. I love it. I do. Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU movie, man. Hands down. I love Winter Soldier. I think
That's right up there. But I will say this: part of this was because I wanted to see what I had rated Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. Um, talk about obscure characters. Like Iron Man was not a tier one. Captain America was not a tier one.
yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
I
who
know, man. And
who?
I still think it's one of the funniest ones. I still think it's one of the best ones. The first one, anyways. I think he went with what worked in the first one, so here's more of it for the second one. And I think it was a little too much personally, but I think the first one was perfect.
Now the Avengers movies apparently they collaborated on, so they'd get input from the different directors and writers and stuff like that. Did you think that the Guardians of the Galaxy in in the Avengers movies, like Endgame? Did you think that they were like somewhat redeemed? I thought that was better than Guardians 2. When
I think
When
so.
Thor's out in space, so good.
Oh, absolutely. It's perfect. He was great, man. Like after, like after Ragnarok's up there too, man. Ragnarok's one of the most rewatchable MCU movies,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I have a huge fondness for Taika Waititi. Like I love everything he's done, man. Like what they do in Shadows was a fantastic movie.
Love and Thunder?
It again, I think it's the same thing that they ran into with Guardians, where
Uh-huh.
it was too much of what worked in the first movie, so here's a bunch more of it, and it was too much.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
thought
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed
I
it.
I enjoyed it,
I
but
watched it long after everybody had said that it was terrible.
I
So
don't think it's terrible. I
I
just
had
think
heard
it's too
everybody
much.
moan about how bad it was and how over the top it was, and it was. I'm not sad. Love
Sam,
and Thunder is trash.
it's trash in the garbage.
Yeah,
So
but
wish.
it's still not as bad as the second Thor, Dark World.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
But that's the thing, man.
it's all
And
relative.
I, it is absolutely. But I love Christian Bale as Gore. I just think we didn't get enough of him, man. I thought he was great.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
And it's I think when you're dealing with a property like that, right? Like I I don't know that character, Gore the God Butcher. Is that correct?
yeah,
Um, and I think people that are really passionate about that character, about that villain, maybe wanted something specific, and maybe it just wouldn't have worked on film. Like that's always an aspect, right? Like I find it with
yeah,
Star Wars when people like I'll come out and admit it. I really enjoyed the sequels. They're not as good as the original trilogy. I still feel like they're better than the prequels.
the
But when
prequels.
people are like, "Oh, that's not how Luke Skywalker should be," I'm like, "Oh, you know him personally? This is a fictional character that somebody has written in a particular way. You don't agree with it. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad. My opinion about, you know, Love and Thunder doesn't mean that it's good or bad. I can enjoy something that is bad. I can dislike something that is objectively good. I think there's an aspect of like opinion and review not being the be all and end all that some of
Yeah,
us forget. Um, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My kids love it. So do I. If you're a Ninja Turtles guy and you don't like it, that's okay. Maybe it
yeah,
wasn't for you.
no,
Move on.
absolutely.
Go back
Yeah,
and watch the original cartoon. Watch the 2003 cartoon. Watch the 2012 cartoon. Watch one of the movies. Read the
I think the
comic book.
Nickelodeon. I think the Nickelodeon cartoon's fantastic, but
The 2012 one?
the last one before Rise, the one that ended before Rise of the
The
TM.
CGI one?
Yeah,
The CGI takes me out of it a little bit.
fair enough.
I do enjoy it, but the animation again, just like the DC animated movies, it just doesn't. I don't know, for whatever reason, it's not my thing. But I would never
Yeah.
I would never yuck somebody's yum. It I that's not my place.
I like
Love
that.
what you love, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking at 2:54, it's probably just about time
Is
for me
this
to.
probably a good time to shut her down? I think I feel like my legs when I've been on the shitter for too long.
Oh, Omar
um,
mentions Kevin Smith's Revelations. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought it was an interesting
oh,
take
I
on.
really liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no, I
enjoyed it.
really enjoyed it. I it I don't know. I think some people get too caught up in how they think shit should be, and I don't know. I thought it was great, man. I thought it was current, and
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it being current. And
Mhm.
I think that's where a lot of people get their, feathers all in a ruffle. But I don't know. I think it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're alluding to, referring to it as current. And I agree. I mean, it was made in a different time than the original Masters of the Universe, and that's
Yeah,
going to be reflected whether you like it personally or not. And I think
absolutely.
sometimes we get hung up on that. And I think we see things through a nostalgic lens that is just it's myopic, and it's counterproductive to sort of hold on to the idea that something has to remain a certain way forever, um, and then that when it changes it's somehow inferior, because I just don't think that that's true. I think it can be true, but I think
Yeah.
if you sort of keep yourself open to the idea that that things are different, that things change, and that it doesn't have to be
That we
better or
can
worse,
change,
it can just be different.
that we can change and grow and be fucking better people. There's not a damn thing wrong with that, man. So yeah, I don't know, Adam. You want to tell guys where you can reach? I think most of them in here know, but
Um, where can I be reached?
no, I just, like give them, what you do.
Yeah, no, I
Your
get it.
Instagram,
Um,
your Facebook.
yeah, so highly articulated. So as it's written on the screen there, if you copy and paste that, that would be where you can find me on YouTube. I think on Instagram it's highly underscore articulated. And then on Facebook, I have like a highly articulated page where I'll sort of post things that sort of link those two things together. Um, and then I'm around in different groups. Yeah,
Well, I want to say thanks, Adam. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show, bud.
it's
And
been fun.
yeah, well, 3 hours. So I enjoyed myself, Ben. I always enjoy chatting with you, bud. So yeah, I know you didn't intend it, but I do appreciate you coming on, brother. It was nice of you to throw it out there. And that's the thing. Like for me, being an introvert, I hate reaching out to people, but I do like having one. And it's nice that you talk, but you leave it open for me to get back in there and talk to. You know what I mean? Where you run things on your show, so you know that you still need to break it off and give
Yeah.
people other chances to speak, which is what I appreciate. That's why I appreciate doing these streams with you, because I feel like we both get equal amount of time to
Mhm.
talk about our opinions.
Mhm.
So, and you're a positive dude, and I enjoy chatting with you, bud. So, thanks for coming on. Thanks
Yeah,
for everybody
absolutely.
that showed up and listened to us talk, and same people that were in and out. Yeah, thanks for being here. Check it out on, it'll be up so you can watch it later. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Thanks very much. And what do
I
you want to
will.
say, Adam?
I was just gonna plug. It's not even my channel, but I will be on. I will be on a panel tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, so like noon Eastern. Toy Connections, TKO live, which should be a lot of fun. The topic tomorrow is biggest toy regrets. It should be interesting.
And I guess we're doing this again on Sunday. So
We're gonna be switching seats.
yeah,
I will be leading on Sunday. We're gonna do basically the same thing, but my list may change. My top five may change between now and Sunday, because I got a
that's
bunch of
fair.
stuff in that box that may crack the top five.
Fair enough. All right, brother. Well, I'll see you then. And, you guys in the chat, if you want to join us Sunday, show up. Highly articulated. I'll be on there. So have a good night, fellas. Thanks for watching. Later.